Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com, and this is Center Seat, my Star Trek podcast. Hello and welcome to this episode of Center Seat. Today we are back to talk about Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episodes 9 and 10, the two-episode finale of the Picard Season 3. The episodes are Vox and The Last Generation. And to talk about this with me, as always, is my wonderful co-host, Darrell Taylor of the Taylor Network of Podcasts. Darrell, happy belated Star Trek Day and happy Frontier Day as well.
I don't know if I want to celebrate Frontier's Day. That's a dangerous day,
right? Yeah,
that's a dangerous day. I don't know about that one.
Yeah. Do you think Starfleet scrapped because at the I'm going to jump ahead to the very end. At the end of the last episode, it's 1 year later, and it would be the 251st Frontier Day. Do you think they scrapped their plans to celebrate that after what happened in the episode?
It's interesting. It's sad to not have any more like other Trek shows like that are like 22 episodes kind of thing, because they would have had something about it in another Trek show, right? Like,
oh right, yeah. Some
Frontier's Day is actually their 9/11 now.
Oh my God, that's right. Yes,
because there's got to be so many people that were murdered. So many Starfleet that were murdered.
Yeah,
not only just murdered, just that they're dead, but they were murdered by other Starfleet.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. Boy, wow. You took this to a dark place, Darrell.
Well, it's rewatching it, it's what I thought about.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a shame we'll never because we don't do the long. There is a reason to not do super long episodes anymore anywhere. Like they just don't. But for Trek, there is something about having the real estate of 22 episodes that you can really do episodes where you could do a Frontier's Day where they're all going home to kind of reflect on that day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
They could do that. Like you could literally do that with the Trek show that's 22 episodes. You have it.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point, because, and this is a topic for another podcast episode, but I kind of felt that way about the latest season of the Pike show, Strange New Worlds. Because there wasn't enough episodes for me for them to explore certain things. So anyway, I don't want to get into that, but
we'll get to it.
I see exactly what you are talking about there. So,
yeah.
But even though we only got 10 episodes of Picard Season 3, I even still felt that, maybe an episode's worth of stuff, they probably could have pruned that down too for Picard.
Yeah, they probably could have, but I'm sure. Yeah, they're for sure. There's stuff you could have cut away with, cut a little bit of fat with.
Yes. Yeah, that exactly. That's how I was kind of, as I was rewatching the last two episodes, like I said, they were billed, and then we talked about this in our previous episode, where we covered 6, 7, and 8. And we did that because they told us later that episodes 9 and 10 were the 2-part finale.
Yeah.
So as I was watching these episodes, I felt like there was a lot of stuff in episode 9 that they, probably, could have cut, and they probably could have cut some of the stuff out of 10, and we would have just had, they could have maybe done like a 75-minute episode finale and just had one.
Well, what they could have did was the Jack telepathic counseling, right? They probably could have laced it in. If they had more episodes, they probably could have laced it in and made those segments shorter, but laced them in like a few more episodes.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. Well, I was gonna say let's get into it, but first, I did say Happy Belated Star Trek Day, which was on September 8th, 2023, celebrating 57 years of Star Trek, and they did have an event. I'll just quote unquote event for Star Trek Day. But as Darrell and I were talking off mic or off recording, that they really couldn't do a whole lot because of the strikes that are going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did not watch the event this year because I was actually out of town and I couldn't do it, and I've been busy and I haven't gotten to it. But there's not a whole lot of stuff, news basically coming out of Star Trek Day, unlike the previous couple ones that they did.
No.
The only thing that of major import that I found was that in celebration of 50 years of the animated series, the original animated series, that they are releasing these new animated short treks, and I think they've released 2 or 3 so far. And,
I think so.
And I think there are more coming through October, or at least as far as I could find. So I'm gonna have to go watch those.
It's so weird, right? That they were doing animated short treks, but at the same time you were getting rid of your animated Star Trek show that you had. The other one,
Prodigy.
Yeah, Prodigy.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. What signal are you sending? I don't know.
Well, yeah.
You're just weird. Just a weird situation.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get any major Star Trek news for quite a while.
No, I think they're trying to hold everything until they can actually, until the strike is over. I think they're trying to hold it as long as they can hold it, because it just doesn't have an impact without being able to. Trek likes to discuss it, to reveal, stuff with the actors being interviewed.
Oh yeah.
That's how they like to do it, which I kind of like that way too. Mm-hmm. Like it's a nice, like they get into it, they blend it, and they're like, we got something for you. And then boom, it gets revealed.
That's the one thing that I love about the newer casts. They could just be acting, but they all seem very excited to be part of the project. Whereas, maybe some original cast members in the past have not been as excited to talk about Star Trek.
Well, this is the other side of doing a 22 episode season. Like they worked you.
Oh God, yeah.
So by the time you get to your break, you're like, F no. I'm not like all year. You are working the hours. I've heard the hours that they worked.
Well, yeah. I mean, for the original series, they did. Yeah. I know that they did at least a 26 episode season.
Yeah.
And there may even been I don't know. I'm probably wrong about this, but a 27 or 28 episode season as well.
Add crossovers too. Like that's even like we might want more crossovers, but for them, it's horror. Like it's this is why you never get the big names doing a crossover episode.
Well,
like, oh hell no.
Well, that and they ask for, well, if you're Shatner anyway, they ask for a lot of money.
Well, yeah. Well, none of them do it. Like you didn't have a crossover with Picard or with Cisco. There's no crossover. It was just the other crew that did their crossovers. Once they did, I mean, the one time when they did the first episode of Deep Space Nine, but other than that, no. They were like, I could see them being like, there's no effing way. Like I star, because they star in the predominant amount of episodes, and so to have them go from that and doing all those scenes to doing extra stuff. I mean, and it would cost them more money. They'd have to pay them more money, of course.
Yeah.
But it logistically, it has to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
It just has to. Even though we would love it.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, but that's what comic books are for, because they've got, is it IDW that's doing those? I think so.
Yeah, they have so many. I say I'm gonna dip my toe back into. I used to read some of them, but it's just now it's like every time I turn around, they announce another miniseries. Now they have a Picard Academy.
Right. Yep.
I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what?
But the main book has all the the next gen era people involved. So
yeah, they do. Yeah.
Just a mix of those. It's like the Dirty Dozen. No, not the Dirty Dozen. The Magnificent Seven of Star Trek coming together. I don't know, whatever the right analogy is, but so yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually haven't read those yet.
Yeah, because they had Cisco, who's returned, going. He went to Cardassia, and they had a trial, and I think they really get into that stuff. Like they get into the Dominion War and the aftermath of some of that stuff and how it affected them, and there's more with Worf, and like it's plenty there.
Yeah. So all right, well, that's the current, I guess, publishing releasing of new Star Trek, because here we are with the end of Picard. Discovery's coming to an end eventually here soon. Strange New Worlds and what's the other anime? Oh my God, I'm Lower Decks.
Lower Decks. Wow.
So those seem to be, they're going to continue as far as I know. So, who knows?
Yes, so far we know for sure there is Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, and the Michelle Yeoh movie,
the special, yeah,
the 2-hour movie that'll be on the app so far, from what we know for sure, because they said it, and then the Academy show, right?
Oh, right. The previously announced Academy show, right?
Yeah. Now we got what we wish.
You know what? Who knows if that actually will come to pass? Given the
that could
delays.
change.
Yeah.
I think that would still happen because
I
nobody
think so too.
Cast or whatever. Like we don't know anything about casting, and if they were cast, I don't think there's many. I don't think there's many like older actors. They're probably going to go newer actors, not as well known. Mm-hmm. So I don't think that they would have an issue with keeping the cast, even if it's got to be pushed back quite a bit. I don't think they would lose that.
Yeah.
So that's what we got so far.
Yeah. Yep. But like I said, here we are to talk about the end of one era of Star Trek.
Yes.
Supposedly. With these final two episodes of Picard season 3. Yeah. So here I got, let me read the synopses and give a little bit of cast information about these episodes, and then we'll just dive right in and talk about them. So episode 9 is titled Vox. A devastating revelation about Jack alters the course of Picard's life forever and uncovers a truth that threatens every soul in the Federation. The final battle begins as Picard and his crew race to save the galaxy from annihilation, but not without a gut-wrenching cost. And we get... this was a total surprise, and I swear to God, I probably jumped out of my chair in excitement. We get Elizabeth Dennehy back as Elizabeth Shelby from The Best of Both Worlds, parts 1 and 2. The first time we've seen Shelby.
I know. We get some Riker shade. I love it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Riker's I love it.
we also get Alice Krieger as the Borg Queen, her voice only. Well, I'll talk about that later.
Happily. She does happily.
Yeah, which, according to an interview with Terry Metalis, it was a huge get. They were very lucky to get her to do this.
Sure.
And, probably just as important in terms of voiceovers, even though this is all taken from previous episodes, but we get to hear Majel Barrett as the Enterprise computer again. I thought that was really sweet. Yes.
That.
Oh my God.
It's comforting.
And like I said, the lines that we hear her say as the voice of the Enterprise D computer. Oops, spoilers. Was taken from the Next Gen episodes Chain of Command Part 2 and Starship Mine. So that was really cool to hear that.
Yeah, it was.
And then episode 10, The Last Generation, which, by the way, Darrell, aired, what is today? As we record this, almost
16th,
almost 5 months to the day since this episode aired. So it's been a while since we've gotten together to talk about stuff. But
yeah, we keep it current, don't we?
I know, right? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's all me. It's all me. All right. So in this episode, in a desperate last stand, Jean-Luc Picard, or as Vatic would say, Picard. That was horrible on my part. And generations of crews, both old and new, fight together to save the galaxy from the greatest threat they've ever faced as the saga of Star Trek: The Next Generation comes to a thrilling, epic conclusion. And it is pretty epic because we get some nice returns in this episode. Specifically, Tim Russ is back as Tuvok in a wonderful scene that we'll talk about. And at the very beginning of the episode, we get Walter Koenig doing a voiceover appearance as Federation President Anton Chekhov, which I just thought that was lovely.
Sounds so much like his father, doesn't it?
Doesn't he, though? I understand that Metalis really wanted to have Koenig do an on-screen appearance, but it didn't work out for whatever reason, probably because they ran out of time or money or both.
Well, they did shoot this, they did shoot 3 while they were doing 2.
Well, yeah,
so that makes sense.
Well, and speaking of, overlapping shooting schedules, they have, we get to see, again, spoilers, John Delancey returning as Q in a post-credit scene.
Q will just never die.
Yeah.
Never leave it alone. He won't.
I have thoughts about that too. I'm sure you do as well, Darrell.
Yes.
All righty. All right. Well, episode 9, is basically this big discovery. And then we get this huge, wonderful, exciting, nostalgic reveal at the very end. So let's just start talking about episode 9, Vox. So the episode starts out with where episode 8 ended. With Troy and Jack, getting into his psyche, and we talked about these before when Jack sees the red door and is having those visions, and the vines and everything, and they talk about that, and I thought that was really neat, because Jack refers to them. He's talking about these flowers on this one planet, and then he basically extrapolates that into, the connective vines of these plants underground. And that is what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
This representation of these connections. And, but I will say, I really appreciated, because I think I compared them to looking like, neurons or, neurological connections or something like that in a previous episode. And Troy makes a mention of that, of these looking like neurons. So I thought that was a really, to me, it was like, oh, validation. Thank you.
You have been seen.
Yes. But we get this. Well, we don't get a reveal. What we get is she opens that metaphoric door, and then the camera's on her, and we see her reaction. And then she basically runs out of the room.
Barclay's mind, so she has seen some sick crap in her day. So to make her,
oh my God, yes,
it's like scrunch her face like that. We have never seen. I'd be like that all the time. I'd be like, you sick bastard.
Okay,
I could not be a telepath going up in mine.
Well, no, not to mention her husband. I'm sure Riker does dirty occasionally. So,
well, she likes getting down and dirty with Riker. I mean, she's been in that mine a long time. Yeah. So I'm sure that they've, she's even in his younger days. I'm sure. But when it's somebody like Barclay, it's like he's sick. Put him in jail. I want charges on what he's thinking.
Oh my God, that's a great callback.
Yes, I would grab my phaser and put it on disintegration. Be like, stop him! He can't be allowed.
But I will say, speaking of Troy, I thought
Yeah.
Marina Sirtis did a great job at conveying that shock and fear.
Oh yeah,
She, after so many years of people complaining about, Marina Sirtis not getting to do enough on the show, which she really didn't.
No, she didn't.
They sort of make up for it in this season. And she's not even in the whole season, so she gets a lot done in the
like
amount of time
episodes.
that she's on the screen. Yeah, so that's really good. But obviously, the big reveal is the Borg are back.
Damn it! Okay, right? Like that's the big thing.
So that was my first major question for you. Is given that we had already had basically a whole season before involving the Borg, what was your reaction to seeing I'll just say the classic Borg back?
I mean, part of me was cool with it. Like I'm like, yeah, like because this season has been a really good season. So I'm like, part of me was yay, but then there's that part of me that was like, this is what you should have freaking did a lot earlier without that nonsense that you did previous 2 seasons.
Yeah, what
was the point of that? Like there should not have been any Borg stuff in the first season. It really shouldn't have.
Well, and
that's what it made me think.
Yeah,
when I saw it.
Well, my first reaction the first time I watched this all those months ago was, oh my God, not the Borg again.
They're like, we have to fix all the bad stuff that they did the previous 2 seasons. It really was. Even the robotic syndrome. They're like, let's fix that nonsense and make it make sense why there was this, why this happened and all that. Like they do. A lot of this is fixing all of the previous mess.
So apparently, I found this out by listening to some interviews with Metalis. Patrick Stewart was very reluctant to have the Borg return after what came previously. It's like,
yeah, I remember hearing him say that.
Yeah. So I had heard, that generally that Stewart had issues with the plan for season 3, but I wasn't sure exactly what that was, but that was part of it. So yeah, that was interesting that even he was like, are you guys sure you want to do this? But
my thing was, Patrick, you should have had that issue in season 1. You could have stopped this.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, here we are.
Yes.
Like I told Darrell before we started recording, I had mentioned this in a previous episode as well. They have since released the disc media of this season, and I had asked Darrell before if he would consider buying the collection on disc, and I was kind of on the fence. I wasn't sure yet. And because I hadn't watched everything, but now having watched the finale again, I need to have. I'm going to go buy that today. In fact, I need to have this in my video collection so that I'll put it right next to my Star Trek Next Gen season 7 disc collection. So it'll be season 8 or whatever it should be. So
even though you'll never take out but one disc,
I'll probably watch all the special stuff that's on there.
You want answers for why it happened the way it happened. You want answers. I know.
Yeah. So in one of these scenes where they're having their conference scenes, Beverly says that no one has heard from the Borg in a decade, and I'm like, wait.
See what I'm saying, and how they're
did you
like,
not hear about last season?
No, she didn't. It's just like, we're gonna no, it didn't happen.
That's one of those things where I'm like, oh, come on, you're playing a little too fast and loose with the events of what has come before. So it's like, well, they didn't need to throw that in there.
I know they didn't. I was like, are you mad at them? And this is Like, are you trying to do like shots fired kind
Yeah,
of thing?
it's like they're trying to rewrite history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, no, it didn't. It
But
didn't happen.
But at the same time, they're not rewriting history. So it's
No,
it's
because
so
he's still a
weird.
golem, right? He still
Right?
became a golem. So yeah, it seems like somebody. It just feels like it's just a weird. It just feels like there are two different factions on the show, and they were not working together.
Yeah. Well, or maybe the kind of the analogy that kind of sticks in my head is that season 2, maybe some stuff in season 1, but they're kind of wrinkles in the story, and they're using things like this to just kind of smooth out those wrinkles just a little bit.
I guess I did. I know it's a waste. It's a waste. Like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it is such a overly complicated ending for last season with the Borg, where it just doesn't. I still don't understand it, and they don't either, because they totally are ignoring that whole. Because it left with a big hole, and you had the entire Borg collective watching, protecting supposedly the galaxy from whatever might happen in that incursion.
Yeah.
And it's totally negated. Like, well, that's it. Isn't it?
Oh, you mean by them ignoring it, or?
Yeah, by them ignoring it.
Well, maybe that's something for a future Star Trek show to touch back on.
But if you have like a situation where they mention the Borg, you would think they'd be more like, well, there is a Borg issue we have.
Well, or at the very least say, hey, we should contact Girardi.
Yes, multiple times, right? You would think that they would.
Yeah, and they would easily be able to just negate that by saying we've tried and we can't. They're not responding or whatever.
So they're not touching it at all. It is just is just such a weird situation. If they had it where the Borg just leaves, right? There's this big threat in the galaxy, and we are going off to that world.
That would have been much better.
Right.
Yeah.
And just let them go through the portal, whatever. We're done. We're going away. Like, it's not the best situation, but it would end that pocket. And if you wanted them to come back, you could just have them come back or not. Right. And that could be it. But to leave it where Starfleet, there's no way Starfleet would have just left the Borg sitting there watching that incursion and then acting like there's nothing wrong over here.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just I know it's a waste, because we're never going to get an answer for that, but it's just a weird. Well, they keep putting it in there, but it's just a weird.
The whole Borg incursion that we are seeing unfold here before us in Picard, that would totally mess up the whole plan to begin with.
Right.
Because the Borg Queen would know that there's this other future sort of version of the Borg.
Right. And I will get into it later, because I don't want to jump ahead because there is a thing I wanted to something I totally wanted to say about with Voyager and how it's left and how it connects with this.
Yes.
It's much better.
Okay.
But we'll get to that then.
All right. So then we get this great scene between Stewart and Spaliers with Picard and Jack talking. Of course, as Picard says a couple times at least, or maybe it was, Troy actually is the one that brings it up first. There are protocols, and it was kind of weird to see Troy take that really assertive, commanding role with Picard about the situation. So I thought that was really nice. But then, Picard echoes that later because Jack is in his quarters, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, he's in his quarters,
and they're talking. But this is basically the scene where I felt like, we've seen Jack experience these visions, and this, he's made comments about how he's always felt different, which who the hell of us hasn't felt that way, right? But there's something going on with him, so I can understand it. It makes it more pronounced for him, perhaps. But this is where they really dive into that whole idea of Jack being different and always looking for connections, even though he's, an arm's length away from everything. It's this weird push and pull of what they're trying to, I guess, convey to us about how Jack is feeling. And I don't know, I just felt like they were just kind of pushing the evidence on us without having really shown us that. I don't know. So I was curious how you felt.
Well, that was the thing of not having enough time.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't, right? There's only but so much time you have and they couldn't show half an episode or more of him with his mom. Like they couldn't.
Oh yeah. See, you've talked about that before. They really needed to have that.
Yeah, because it would kind of show how he is. It's hard for him to kind of connect with people. It would show that, like he was an orphan kid. Because the dude is handsome, right? He's charming. You look at him and you go, "You ain't the awkward kid."
No,
like you're not the awkward guy. Like you would be. Listen, you'd be out there like kirking up all these different women out in the galaxy, right? You're traveling, you're going here and there.
He's like Kirk and Riker kind of mushed together with
so it's like
it's Picard's accent. So I mean, it's a triple
like
threat.
When a supermodel, it's like when a supermodel tries to play a part where they're like, "I'm the awkward duckling," right? And they, but all you got to do is just take the glasses off, take the hairpin out, and then they become super beautiful like they were anyway, even with the glasses on. So it's just it's funny to hear him say it when he's been charming with pretty much every time we've seen him. He's been charming except with his father, because he's, that's the awkwardness, is with his own father. That's it. That's the only time. So we don't get it. We really don't get a real sense of his isolation. That's the part that's missing.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Exactly. Yeah.
And they just didn't have time.
Yeah. Sure.
It's just the point of not having time.
Yeah. He uses his I'll just say telepathic powers for now.
Yes.
To leave because he's going off to confront the Borg.
Right.
So he leaves, and then the crew obviously gets together and talks more. There's a lot of talking in this episode.
Yes, there is.
a lot of meetings. But I did like at one point Beverly acknowledges Wesley. I gave Wesley space and I lost him to it. She says. So I thought that was really cool that, finally Wesley, not finally. I mean, they've talked about Wesley a few times, but it's like,
yeah, they have,
they're at least they're making, overtures towards this other, important cast member, son character that is not at all present and easily could have been. I'll talk about that later, but and then, we get a great, I love this scene between Data and Picard. Picard is, feeling pretty low, pretty down about what's going on with Jack, and he can't help him. It's as a father, I would feel just devastated and gutted about what's happening to my son. Yeah. And Data comes to comfort him. And given that long history of Data and Picard mentoring him, and just everything that we've ever seen between those two characters, I felt like that was kind of a culmination of 35 years of that friendship. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like Geordi was always Data's best friend.
Sure. Yeah.
Picard was always his paternal figure. That's the thing that kind of messed up in the first season. That's
true. Yeah, I agree.
They didn't specify that. And that should be the case. So yes, they in the third season we did watch The Next Generation, and they get it, and then they're like, this is an older Data has been through more, and he's able to actually comfort Picard for once, because he actually feels the emotions that
Yeah. Well, and the roles are kind of reversed in a way, and that's what I really liked about that.
Right. And he lost a daughter. right?
Oh,
So now he can think about that.
that's true. And they didn't really touch on that, did they?
No,
No,
they
they
didn't. But
not.
it's implied. I
Not
think
really.
it's
They didn't
implied
at
in
all.
the
Yeah.
right. But I think you can kind of put that in the implication of how he's able to talk to him because he
Ah.
did, and he fought for his kid. Like he did. He helped fight for that child. Remember, like So you would think about like all of that is in Data's mind. So when he's coming to Picard to be there for him when he thinks he's lost, there's a chance of him losing his son. It fits why he would be the one to talk.
Yeah. Well, and
Geordi's never been through that. So,
yeah. Thankfully.
Yeah, thankfully, exactly. Geordi's had a good family life, right? Like,
yeah. It was just. Given how Data is shown basically from this point on in these two episodes, he's really kind of the comedic relief.
Oh, for sure,
quite a lot. But this was a very nice understated performance. I really like that.
Yeah, I like what they did with this for sure. I like what they came up with, the solution they came up for Data. No, it's never going to be perfect, but it allows you to get the things that you need to have him there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I was fine with it. I thought that was nice.
I did not have a problem with it.
And then we are told about, basically we're told about, what's going on with so there was a I think they were talking about Jack and the way that he is. Oh yeah. He is a, what do they call it? A transceiver for this Borg signal, right? And I like how many years ago was Star Trek First Contact? 90. When did 94 is when the series ended, and I think Generations came next.
Generations first,
and then First Contact. So a few years. So we're talking about late 90s, I think. I want to say. So anyway, it's been a long time, and I love how they retroactively explain how Picard in First Contact was able to hear the Borg at the beginning of the movie because of this genetic modification that they discover. So
because they never really get into that, and it's not the same with everybody. Other Borg, other people who have got out of the collective, is not exactly the same.
And, and this all ties into why they stole Picard's human body,
right?
To examine and use genetic material and all that kind of stuff. So that all kind of folds in together nicely. So I thought that was a nice way of really, just taking this old information and tying it into this stuff 35 years later. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. These are people that watched that show and they were like, we can we can connect dots. We don't have to, but we can do it and it works.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so then here we get Admiral Shelby. It's Frontier Day. We get to see her on the bridge of the Enterprise F, celebrating.
I don't like that one. I
was going to ask you about that. Okay, yeah. Here, let me give a little bit of history on that. Now, then we'll get into that. So she's there to kick off Frontier Day. She talks about 250 years ago, the NX-01 Enterprise set out, paving the way for the Federation. And then we get to see this. It was a nice little slow crawl across the screen. We get to see the Enterprise F. It's an Odyssey class, and it was designed for the Star Trek Online game.
Yeah.
So, but you don't like it.
I just didn't. It just never sounds right to hear the F. It just didn't make it. It just didn't work. To hear Enterprise F, it's just kind of know it's not going to work.
You just don't like the name.
It's the. I mean, I don't. It doesn't look like an Enterprise to me.
It's
either.
Yeah, it's kind of like this weird blend of the D and the E.
Yeah,
With these weird connecting. I don't know, the way that
it looked weird when they changed the vantage point of the ship when you're looking at it from the side when it's turning. It just looked weird. It looked like something out. You know what it is? It looked there's a I guess maybe you get it too. When you see an Enterprise, when you see it, there's a feeling you get when you see it that you're like, this is going to be the ship for a while. Like this is the Enterprise. This is the ship of the line. Like this is it. Like there's that feeling. Yeah. And then there's feelings where you see an Enterprise and it's like when it's yesterday's Enterprise, or it's, when it's something where they're showing you a possible future where this is not going to be the ship for long. Yeah. Right? Yeah. When I saw it, it looked like a ship I would see in an alternate timeline or something or whatever. But or how you saw it when you saw Generations, when you saw the Enterprise in Generations. It's like, this is not a ship I'm going to see much of.
Yeah. Yeah.
After a while, like this ain't it. This is not going to be it. And exactly what it looked like.
Well, see, that's funny you say that because that's kind of how I felt about the E when we first saw that in First Contact.
Yeah, not enough time because it was not enough time.
Yeah. Well, to your point, the D when I first encountered that, back in 1987, I didn't like it. I didn't care for it at all, because I was all about, the original Enterprise and
me too.
The refit, that's the Enterprise. What is this thing?
Because how many times they refit it? Like it never felt like you'd ever not get a ship that looked like the original Enterprise. Yeah. So it was so different, right? That Enterprise D was so different. But again, 22 episodes a season.
You spend that time with it over those years and now decades.
Exactly.
And it's just, it is to me that, after the original Enterprise, and I always think of the original and the refit, that's just, that's one ship, regardless of the A.
Right. It's the first. It's always going to be special because it's the first.
And then when the Enterprise D is the other one I think of. So immediately after that. So yeah. And
I'm the same way.
And spoilers, I will say there's another one that now I'm thinking that's the third one. So anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah. But see, it feels like home when you see that though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's what I'm saying, because we got time.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the F was, I realized, the people that play the Star Trek Online game, and I've played a little bit of that game.
I've never played it.
Oh, okay. Ooh, Darrell, we should do that.
I just never thought about it.
I just never gotten into it very far, and so I've never seen.
Is it on a system? Is it on a gaming system, or you have to play it on your desktop or something?
I don't know. I played on my PC, so but I'm pretty sure you can play it on a console system, but I don't know. So
I'm so separate. Like I am so like OCD with that, where when I'm on a desktop, it's for me to either I'm working or I'm looking at stupid internet videos of dogs. Because that's what I do. I've become that age now where I look at cute dog videos, and that's it. And then if I go to my gaming system, that is for playing games. Like I keep it separate. Like that's how I am with it.
So yeah, like I was gonna say, the people who play Star Trek Online, they probably have some familiarity with the Enterprise F. I don't know how much it's in the game. They probably do. So maybe there are people out there like, that's a cool looking ship, but I was like,
because the Enterprise F just means it's the ship is effed.
Yeah,
that's what I just think of when I saw it. It's just the ship is effed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We're gonna get to that in a second too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, so we get to see Admiral Shelby on this, and the crew of our crew is watching this broadcast, and after it's over, and I think this is what you were referring to earlier with
Yes.
the Riker shade, right? It's like,
Yes.
yeah.
You
So
saw his face. His face was like,
yeah,
please.
he says the irony of her endorsing something Borg-like, and in my notes I was like, the disdain drips from Riker's mouth.
Oh my gosh, it is. It's
After
so,
all these years, he's still pissed at her.
I like Petty Riker. I'm sorry. I like Petty Riker. I do. Oh,
I love it.
I do. I love it. I love it. And she's like, and you become what you hate. You become a bureaucrat.
Oh, that's right.
Her whole thing is to get around that to get things done.
That's right. Yes. Oh,
and to think outside the box.
See,
so
again,
to get older, you become what you hate.
If they only had more episodes, we could have had some more with her and more interaction. Oh yeah. Oh
yeah. Imagine the debate, right? Like I bet you if they had like a longer thing and they didn't have to shoot back to back like that, we might have had something where Shelby is debating with Riker about these ships.
Oh, and how cool would it have been if the tables were turned between them?
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh. Because the thing is, he's an admiral, so he would be in the room when they talked about having these ships connected with each other like a Borg thing. Like he would be in the room, right, in that discussion, because she would have to go before the admirals and stuff to talk about it. And I could see him in a meeting going, why would you do this? This is not a good idea. This is horrible. And they would do the debate and he would leave. I could see him leave that room and be like, oh, she always gets under my effing skin. She just always does. Even after all these years, she still gets under my skin. And I could hear his wife, Deanna, because she would sense it, right? She'd be like, why do you always let her get to you? You still have a thing with her. And it's just shit it would be a cool thing to get. And we, no time, so you just can't get it.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of us, there's always this person at work that you're never going to like, and they always bug you.
Sure.
Okay, so they're trying to figure out what to do next, the crew, but then we get back to Jack, and he's arrived on a Borg cube.
Yeah.
And we
Smart
get to
Jack.
Yeah. Well, he to be fair, he is there to put an end to this situation.
But you say to yourself, there's something in you, right? They already told you there's something in you that's connected to the Borg. And they have gone through the trouble of murdering so many people to get you.
Right.
So why would you bring yourself to her?
Well, and alone.
And alone.
Right? No backup, no help.
No.
It's just I'm doing this impetuous thing that even though I'm 20 something, I'm acting like a 16-year-old.
This is when you realize how young he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because of how brash
I guess.
He is. Even though he looks like he's older than he's supposed to.
That's true.
Yeah.
But here's where we discover that the Borg Queen still exists, and it's Kriga doing the voice, so we get that nice connection to the past.
Right.
And she this is where we get the name of the episode, Vox, because she names Jack just like she named Picard Locutus, the one who what'd she say, the one who speaks,
the one who speaks.
Yeah. But Jack is Vox, the voice. So, and I also thought at the very beginning of the episode when we hear this is that scene with Troy and Jack where we hear that voice that we've been hearing that was ostensibly Beverly's voice in Jack's head calling him. I swear at the very end of that sequence where we're hearing Beverly, that I thought I heard Kriga as the queen. And it was just so quick. I'm like, did I hear that? And I think I did, because here we are.
I think you did. Yeah,
So,
I think you totally did.
That was nice. Very subtle. I love the way that they put that together. So
I wonder if this is how it's left. If they're saying, I know you didn't watch Voyager, right? The finale.
Oh no, I did. I did watch the final episode.
You did?
Yeah. I just haven't watched all of the episodes.
If we're supposed to think this is where she was left off, like the damage to the ship is from that episode.
The Queen makes a reference to that at some point as well, complaining about the poison. I don't know that she name checks Janeway at that point, or just makes a general reference, but I'm pretty sure.
I think she makes a general reference, and I think that's what we're supposed to take from that. Is that that's
what I did. I certainly did, but. And then the crew's talking, and this is where we find out what the changelings were doing with the Borg, and what the kind of what the plan is. Darrell, this was brilliant.
I did too.
The plan to use Borg genetic code so we find out that all those years ago, the Borg Queen injected Picard with this genetic modification, this genetic technology.
Yeah, it was a Borg Hail Mary.
That never went away, which is again why he heard them in First Contact.
Right.
That has now been passed on to Jack. So father to son. Now the father or the son takes over for the father, for the Borg in regards to the Borg. But even better, even more, is that they've taken this genetic code from Picard's old body, and this is where the changelings came into it. That they were kind of the foot soldiers, so to speak, to get out there and do this stuff for the Borg Queen, because what we see of the Borg Queen is she is basically skeletal and dying, and we do see eventually the Borg on the ship. They're basically rotting.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like they treat it as, what if it's like the changelings are like if a militia that pretty much got dissipated. Like they don't have any direction. They're just out there in the world, and they hate the Federation, right?
Yeah.
So to list that, it all goes to the Federation not cleaning up their messes, because they never really dealt with the changelings as they probably should have in terms of reconnecting with them and stuff, right? Like the Federation hasn't, or Starfleet hasn't learned its lesson ever since Kirk left Khan on that planet. And then you always have some secret cabal inside the government, right? That's always the case. And of course that they do terrible things because they have to prepare for the next time.
Right. Yeah.
You have that enemy. So of course, that's the thing. Like it all makes plausible. That's what's so great about the connective tissue, because it all makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of making sense, so the last bit of this is that they've taken this genetic code and they're assimilating people through the transporters. That's why the transporter technician in the earlier part of the season, that's why that was a changeling, is because he was infecting the transporter system with this code, and it spread throughout Starfleet, which goes all the way back to when Ro said don't use the transporter. Yes, and she knew there was something about that. Yeah, that didn't seem right. That was, I thought that was probably one of the best Star Trekian things that they have done in this series. Even though I don't care for the Borg yet again, this was nice. We also find, though, that it only affects. I found it interesting that Beverly talks about humans 25 and younger, because what is it? Something about a part of our brain that it stops developing once we reach age 25. Yeah, I love it. They did something. They did the story for us. The young people are the disease, and it's the old folks like us that are going to save the galaxy for once. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I'm sitting there going, Star Trek would do something like this, where it's like it's the young people that are the problem, right? That's old Trek. That's some old Trek stuff, right?
That is very true.
Oh my God, I love it.
But it did beg the question for me. Why if this affects? So she's like I said, she says humans, but we see so many other races.
Yeah, they age differently, right?
Yeah, and I figured that's the case. So that was my question for you. So Vadic was concerned about using transporters. She even avoided them. So does it? I guess we're supposed to take from this that it would affect changelings differently, or maybe she didn't know exactly how it affected them, so she just wanted
maybe she just didn't trust it.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, that actually that's a great explanation, because even though she was working for the Borg Queen,
it's still the Borg.
Yeah.
You don't trust them. They're still the Borg.
Mm-hmm. So about this time, this is when we find out that everybody, all the young people on all the ships,
you and your TikToking youngins out here.
Oh, TikTok is the Borg. Okay.
Yes.
They've all been assimilated, and they start taking over the ships, and then including alas, poor Admiral Shelby, who the last thing we see is her getting shot before the signal gets cut off.
Yeah, and you saw Riker's face, right? He tried to hide it, but I saw his face. I know what he was thinking. I know what he was thinking. You become the captain of the Enterprise. You see how that goes. You're a captain for 5 minutes, and you see what happens.
Oh my God! Yeah,
shade.
Good. All right,
nice shade. He put it. I want a scene of him just putting up an umbrella, so he'd have a shade over his.
Oh my God!
That's what I would have wanted.
That's great.
All of a sudden, drinking a cocktail under an umbrella, just drinking it. It's like, where did that come from?
Is that like the Kermit the Frog meme where he's sipping tea or something?
Yeah, that's total shade right there. You can turn around and you feel like, whoa, wow, wow, Riker, way to forgive, way to forgive.
Poor Admiral Shelby.
Okay.
So this is where the fleet is in the formation, and the Borg have taken over essentially. Although
we have given them the keys.
Yep.
To the Federation car, basically.
Exactly. And the house, and
yeah, we have we put everything into TikTok, and we have let them take over everything now, which is
so
TikTok, Facebook, all of it, X, Y, Z, Twitter, whatever. It just opened up our
browsing history.
Cookies. We all accepted the cookies from the Borg, and now they have taken over everything.
So all of the ships that have gathered for Frontier Day are now in this formation. I forget what Shelby called it, but did you think? I was looking at the formation, and I was thinking, what is this a Borg like shape, or
it looked more like a lantern? It looked like more they were shaped like lanterns.
It was. I was trying to understand the formation, and
it was a weird formation.
See if there's any kind of Borg-like connection to it, but I couldn't. I got
lanterns out of it because it looked like a circle in the middle, and then it looked like
exactly
over top was the handle, and underneath was the stand. That's what I saw.
I thought a similar thing,
and I watched it we both watched it more than once, so it still looks the same to me.
So anyway, the Borg, the Starfleet Borg now are taking over and eliminating everyone that's not assimilated. So they're just trying to kill all the old people.
You know what they're trying to get rid of the old people.
Yeah. Well,
trying to shoot us, get us rid of us.
I mean, isn't that what happens when we get to retirement age anyway, and then our kids shuffle us off to
That's right. Social commentary right there.
Yeah.
Like they try to get rid of us.
Ooh,
you hit a certain age.
You never thought Star Trek would go to that place, but yes, they did.
Society is the Borg, and they're trying to get rid of us. Is what they're saying. But we're too important. When you try to get rid of us, you see what happens.
Yes.
We lose our identity.
We do have something to contribute after all.
That's right.
Our old brains.
That's right.
Okay, but Darrell, this is the saddest, maybe the saddest part of the whole show, the whole season.
How's that right?
When we lose the great, the awesome Captain Shaw.
I knew it was coming, but I was still, though I knew it was coming, I was still like,
I was so mad.
Don't do it, but don't do it. Like you could hurt him. I'll even let you like cripple him a little bit, right? So he can't be the captain.
You mean again?
Right, exactly. Like, okay, you want to take him off the board of being the captain, right? You could still do it without killing him.
Yeah.
Or he could just be like, after this is all over, he could be like, I don't ever want to effing be on another effing starship ever again. I'm retiring. I am out. You kids take the car. I want nothing to do with this. I'm done.
Yeah. So yeah, he gets shot. Isn't vaporized.
Yeah.
I feel like in the last few episodes, Darrell, that they've forgotten that phasers can vaporize people. So, but anyway, okay. So yes, Shaw is now dead, but before he dies, he does have that nice little moment with 7 of 9. I'm not the captain anymore. You are 7 of 9. So, he even calls her by her name. So her chosen name. So that was sweet. I like that. The passing of the torch. He's not such a bad guy, even though I've never really thought he was. So, yeah, we get another major death. So, like you, I think what you're getting at, somebody had to die in our crew, our intrepid crew, and they're not going to kill any of the major ones. So,
no, you knew what was coming.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
But his death does allow our next gen crew to escape the Titan, and Geordi has a plan. He takes them back to the what was that? The museum, the ship museum, and we find out that he's been putting together over these last several years the venerable Enterprise D.
That's right. Just waiting. You're just waiting. This is what we've been wanting for the longest. This is what we wanted. You see that Kathleen Kennedy over there in Star Wars land? It's okay sometimes to give people something they want.
Yeah. That was
still do a good story.
It was, yeah. So you've said this a couple times now about it felt like coming home or being home or whatever, right? So this is like the culmination of that, right? So we get to see the crew back on the bridge of the Enterprise after 30 some years, 30 35 years or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was so nice.
It was. I mean, and they did the music, and they they did the score, and they did the scenes. It's almost like stop for the camera. All right, there you go. Stand there. Okay, get that scene. Gotcha. Okay.
Well, and speaking of that, so apparently, they spent. I just watched this interview with Metellus last night. They spent 6 months building the bridge, and they only were able to shoot on it for 2 days. That whole bit of them on the bridge for these 2 episodes, 2 days worth of shooting. So that's really that's the business.
Because everything was so fast. Yeah, when I heard the schedule, like how they did the schedule, it's crazy. Like how fast they had to do all this stuff. It's still a testament to the show that the season came out as well as it did, even with having to rush to get it done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing what, everybody involved in that show was able to accomplish.
Yeah.
Given, I mean, this is a huge reach that Metalis and everybody was doing.
It is.
And we've been nitpicking here and there, sure, but for the most part, they've done a fantastic job.
I do.
And I see this part, the Enterprise D stuff, and the crew being there and all this. That to me is just like the culmination of all of that. Even though we have a whole other episode to get to.
Yeah, I missed the carpet too.
Oh, God, I was gonna say, yeah, the joke about the carpet was nice, but I was thinking, it's great that you guys are soaking in the nostalgia of your old ship, but don't you think you should get a move on considering what's going on?
Listen, we're older people. We like to
take our time.
We get there on our own time.
That's true. Okay? Very true. Very true. They also, speaking of jokes, Worf did something to the Enterprise E that he claims was not his fault. Mm-hmm. And I realized as well that this is what Alandra was talking about to refer to in the episode The Bounty. I thought she was talking about the cloaking device, but right. I think this is what she was actually talking about. So, like I said, we get to hear Majel's voice again on as the Enterprise D computer. And then we get this nice little scene of them, we're going to go here. And I thought Riker put it best, because they were talking about, being a family.
Right.
He says, Jean-Luc, wherever you go, we go. And then the episode ends with the familiar Picard, engage.
That's it. That's what you want.
That was a great ending for this episode.
It is. It would have been great for other, franchises. Like if, you give Luke his lightsaber, he goes, let's go, Padawan. It's time to start your training.
Yeah.
That would have been nice. I know I'm just shooting shots at Star Wars.
And you're talking about stuff I'm not entirely sure of. So I've not watched a whole lot of that stuff.
This is what happens when your brain is in too many franchises.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to before I get in, I have a little bit of trivia for this episode, but first I want to touch on this because this is a conversation that Peter Rios and I had about this show. Mm-hmm. He may have even talked about it on the Daily Rios. I'm not sure, but he predicted that in season 3 that each of the principal next gen crew would fly one of the ships at the Fleet Museum. And I thought, that would be really cool. Riker would be on this ship.
Well, actually, I remember him saying he was saying that. What didn't he say something like he was saying they would all like all the ships, like he would kind of get all the ships out.
Yeah,
like you get the Defiant, you get the all the Enterprise, the Voyager, all of them, and they would all do battle with the fleet.
Yes.
Like it would be one. I think you know what? I would have loved to have seen that. Like
sure.
I think if they had more time, like what they could have done if they had Adam and time, they could have done that where they had some of the others, like you slave it so that you could control it.
Yeah.
And use it because the one thing that was not real, I mean, the Titan fighting a whole fleet by itself and not being destroyed really was kind of...
They were stretching
But if you had it where all the other ships come, imagine Voyager, like just before they're about to blow up the Titan, Voyager comes in and deflects the shots and Seven gets to see the Voyager.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have been great. Like, I totally agree.
That would have been... I probably would have been, teary-eyed a little bit. Don't cry, but
I understand why they wouldn't do that because
Right.
the focus, of course, is on the D and
Sure.
the next
Well, if
gen.
they had more time,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like you can't do that because it would take away from the time that they don't have. But if they had more episodes, a few more episodes, imagine if they were able to do that battle of having those ships and they're only for just, slowing down the fleet because there's no way they would have stopped it, but they would have slowed down the fleet a little bit.
Yeah.
That would have been a great way to see that. And people would have lost their ever Star Trek loving minds.
Yeah.
We would have. We would have, definitely.
Yeah. So, okay. So like I said, I have some trivia here. I've already mentioned how the Enterprise D bridge was built in 6 months. It's an entirely new set because they obviously don't have the old sets anymore.
Yeah.
They did have a legacy component of the set still around. It was the dedication plaque, which was the original prop used during seasons 5 through 7 of the Next Gen.
Right.
And the plaque was removed from the set each day after filming for fear of it being stolen.
You got to watch people.
Yeah. That's Spiner. I'm sure he would abscond with it. But and Metalis said in that same interview that I've been referencing, this is on the Will Wheaton show that I forget the name of it now.
Don't make me have to think of it because I can't think of it now either.
Whatever.
I watched the show a bunch of times.
I know. I just watched it last night. I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, in that, Metalis said that they have preserved that bridge set. I don't know what that means, where it is, or what they're going to do with it, but they did not.
I mean, nowadays you should. I know they did it back then because they didn't ever think that they would go back to. They never thought that they would, go back to this world on a TV show or whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But nowadays you can't, nowadays you kind of have to think, you don't know if they'll never go back or not. They just might.
Mm-hmm.
So never destroy sets again. just don't do it. Just put them somewhere, store them, but don't destroy them.
The other thing here I have is we already talked about Frontier Day, the 250th anniversary of the launch of the NX-01. But apparently the date of that is April 2151, which Darrell is only about 125-ish years away.
Wow. Be there in no time.
Yeah. We'll be in the stars in no time. And this episode confirmed that Captain Worf, we already talked about the fact that he is shown as a captain, having the rank captain.
Right.
I don't know where this comes from, but it's what I found was he's the first Klingon to command a Federation starship. So,
well, it came from the book.
Okay,
him being a captain, he was made captain in the book because the book that covers it covers the time from Picard. It goes from when the end of what is the last one they did? The end of Star Trek. What was the last the Next Generation movie?
I was gonna say Insurrection, but that's not it.
No, not Insurrection. I thought Nemesis.
Nemesis.
It goes from Nemesis to what happened at when we see him in season 1, episode 1 of Picard. So it shows you why he left the Enterprise when he took on because he was the one who put together, he gave up command of the Enterprise so he could put together an armada to help the Romulans to get off of, because they knew that when the sun was dying.
Yeah. Okay.
So what they did was they, because it actually also connects with Star Trek, the Kelvinverse thing.
Yeah.
When they, that sun was dying, that he was trying to evacuate as many of the Romulans as he could. So he put together the armada to do it along with Geordi.
But was he in command of the Enterprise E at that time, or he
was in command of the Enterprise E, and then what happened was he fought for Worf to be made the captain of the Enterprise E when he left. When he stepped down to take command of the Armada.
Okay, but what happened with the Enterprise E is not part of that.
That's the thing. They never they stop it at that. They never get to the point. They only show after that they get the book gets into when he leaves Ralphie. Like what happens when you see the destruction, the terrorist attack, and then when when Starfleet refuses to help the Romulans, and then he does the whole, if you don't do it, I'll quit. And, like it actually gets into that, like more about that, what happens to Raffi and why she feels the way she does when we see her and all that. So that's what the book covers. So you get that whole thing of Worf being the first Klingon to ever be a captain.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I have to read that myself. And then finally, since we're talking about Worf, according to Trek Core, this was Michael Dorn's 280th episode appearance as Worf.
Crazy.
280 episodes. Wow.
Imagine how many checks he got from Paramount for doing all those episodes.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
I think Dorn's sitting pretty. Well, I don't know, maybe not anymore with how things are, but he's. I think I already said this before. He's appeared in the most episodes, or maybe that's in the trivia for the next one.
Well, he has. I mean, no one else has done multiple Trek shows.
Series, yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's done multiple Trek series on top of those cons because they pay well.
Oh yeah.
Doing those cons pay well, and he's done quite a few cons over the years. So, pretty good gig.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now we get into the final episode of Star Trek Picard Season 3, The Last Generation, which the season, Darrell, began with the episode The Next Generation, and now we have The Last Generation. I thought that was great bookend titles for this season.
Oh, sure.
And really for, the whole thing, next gen, last gen. So,
right. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and actually, even before the episode begins, I noticed this on my rewatch last night. You know that before the episode starts on Paramount Plus, they do that little starship flying animation thing, where the ship is basically flying in the formation of the Star Trek Delta.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice this? So it's the Enterprise D. Instead of the Titan. And the music's a little different, I noticed. And it ends with the transition of the animation of a Borg laser sight coming into view. And everything just starts to kind of like deteriorate. I thought that was a great little...
Oh, for sure.
A little touch that they added there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But the episode itself opens with a message from President Anton Chekhov, so we get to hear Koenig's voice again. And I thought this was a nice callback. Anton is quoting his what was it was Pavel his father or his grandfather? Probably his grandfather?
He said his father.
Was it father?
He said
okay.
What his father said.
Yeah. So I like how he took what Kirk says in, I think it's Star Trek II. I forget now, but he's quoting Spock. What is Kirk's line is as Mr. Spock always says, there are always possibilities.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Yeah,
it's been a minute, but I think that's what he said.
I meant to look that up to make sure, but I forgot. But I just like that callback, like I said.
Yeah, me too.
So what I did not mention before in the previous episode when poor Shaw died, because that just overshadows everything. So
sure does.
that left Seven and Rafi on the Titan while the next gen, the old folks headed off in the shuttle to go to the ship museum to try and retake the Titan. And they've gathered a bunch of older crew to help them, and they storm the bridge. And I thought this, the whole transporter genetic code thing with the Borg was really cool. This was also kind of cool too. Cool tech that they tied a phaser to the transporter system, and then when Seven shoots them, it transports them to the transporter room. I thought that was really cool.
And it's precedent for it because they kind of did that with Insurrection.
Oh, that's true. Yes. Okay.
So when I saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of what they did to the Baku. It's just shoot them with. They made like phaser guns. Basically, they made transporter guns.
Yeah,
basically what they were using.
Yeah, and watch, we'll never see that again.
No, no.
Yeah,
but it's great though. I mean, that's such a great idea though.
Yeah,
to have a thing where you get an enemy where you don't want to kill them, but you want to trap them. You shoot them and just put them in the brig, like you beam them right to the brig. Like that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of there was an original series episode where Kirk has people put these transponders into their wrist or something so they could track them on an away mission. And then they never refer to that technology again.
Yeah. That happens all the time.
Yeah.
Happens all the time with Trek.
Oh, well. But our intrepid crew have determined that they found the Borg cube. It's in Jupiter. It's in. They actually find it in the great eye of Jupiter, that big storm, and so they head off to Jupiter to try and stop the signal from the Borg cube that is controlling all of the assimilated Starfleet personnel.
Yeah.
And then we get this wonderful scene on the bridge, and Picard's like, okay, I need to go do this. I got to go save my son, essentially. And Riker tells him, you're not going alone. Worf then says, and I will make it a threesome. Riker deadpans, do you even hear yourself?
I absolutely loved all of this.
Oh my God!
This was the best parts of it, of the show, of the season.
Yeah,
for me.
Agreed. That look between Riker and Troy when he's announced this. I'm just going to go. I got to go help. Picard, my guy. That was perfect. There are no words between them, just looks. I mean, it's just great character acting. It is
because Worf doesn't get the joke, so he says it deadpan and serious. So Riker's always there. Riker is us. He's our jokey selves, and so he's like, "Did you just say what? Did you hear what I like?"
Yes,
and I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. Absolutely.
And so the three of them head off to the turbo lift, and Picard turns around before he gets on and says, "It's been an honor serving with you all." And Darrell, I will admit, this is the point where I thought they might actually kill Picard by the end of this.
No, I didn't just think it. No? I knew it. I knew they were going to kill. To me, I thought,
really? Yeah.
Oh, Picard is dead. There's no way Picard comes out of this alive.
Yeah.
Because they always, this is the last season. It's the supposed last hurrah, right? Like it's his age is there. It just feels like this is it. Like they brought the whole crew together. Like I just saw him like dying around them. Like they get him, even if he gets back home or whatever, get back to the Enterprise. I just saw him being on a med bed surrounded by the crew and him saying little things to each one of them before he passes on to the next universe.
Yeah.
I just saw it. Like I just knew it was going to happen. I didn't want it to happen, but I just knew that that's what was going to happen. Because they don't always need to die. Like that's the thing. They don't always need to die. It's just, that's what happens a lot of times.
The looks on everyone's faces after he says that, because there's this nice pan of everybody. I think they are thinking, yeah, this is the last time we're going to see him.
Yeah, for sure.
But then I immediately thought, oh my God, what if they kill Riker? And I was more upset about that possibility.
Yeah, I thought it could happen. I thought it could happen, but I definitely didn't want that to happen.
It just seemed like they were really trying to serve up, oh yeah, Picard's dead. You should expect it.
Or Worf.
Oh no, I never thought Worf was going to die.
I don't know. I just thought he could. I thought he possibly could die.
Well, considering what happens here in a little bit, I'm surprised he wasn't in more of a situation. So
no, I'm glad what happened happened.
Oh yeah,
I prefer it. Like I don't. We don't always need to have the big death thing when a character's getting at that age, and then when they say the last adventure, that doesn't always have to mean it's the last adventure and they die. Sometimes it could just mean it's the last one for right now, and if things, you never know, could happen.
Yep, for sure. So they get on the Borg cube, and eventually, of course, they need to split up because they got to stop the signal. But Picard says, "I got to be a father now, not your captain." And
he's got to first contact this baby and have it where they split up when they get to the ship. They all have to split up, and that's what they did.
Yeah.
It made me think of First Contact so much. Like this.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that. That's great.
Yeah.
But that whole that part there was like between, again, Riker and Picard. It's like I have loved these two since the very beginning of the season, and the conversation that they have as they're splitting up.
Mm-hmm.
This is quite honestly, I've not been that impressed with Patrick Stewart's performance this season. And
really,
but this, I mean, there are moments, but mostly I was just like, yeah, he's saying some lines, but this moment between Riker and Picard, I felt this is the most believable I've found Stewart's performance, at least in these last two episodes.
Right.
All right. Maybe it's just because there's just been a lot of exposition so far.
Maybe. But it all works because if you and your number one doesn't work, captain and number one doesn't work, then none of this works. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Mm-hmm. Like they have to work. You have to see that we have to get the sense of how the friendship with them is. They'll die for each other. You have to see that.
Yeah. Well, and
they'll follow each other to the end.
And right? this reinforced my fear that they were actually going to kill Riker.
Yeah. It did. It totally did.
Oh man. Picard does eventually finds his way to where Jack and the Queen are. And this is where we get a really good look of the Borg
Queen. Jacked up.
Oh my God. What that? So what they had done, like I said, Alex Kriega did the voice of the Borg Queen, but it was another actress portraying the physical Borg Queen in the scene.
Yeah, and you don't put that woman in all that again. She don't want to do that. I don't blame her. Like,
well, it was, because this other actress is saying the lines, but it's being voiced over by Kriega. It had this weird, I don't know. It wasn't. It just had this weird sense about it that I think actually works really well to make the Borg Queen really creepy. And not just in the way that she looks, just everything, the way she moves and the way she's talking, and it was just really effective, I thought.
Oh, for sure. Like it worked. All of that worked. I mean, even the way that the head was kind of sunken in the top, and had the tubes like just going in, and just the way it looked at all, it just made her look revolting.
Yeah.
When you looked at her, it looked horrific, which is great. Like that's it's what you want to see.
And I found it interesting. Picard has a few words with her, and then just starts shooting.
Yeah.
Whereas Whereas Jack in the previous episode, he tried to do that and he couldn't because, he is under some influence by the collective. So.
Well, we get the sense that she thought, Picard was too old and feeble to be able to stop her. So I don't even need to have control over him anymore.
Yeah.
So all I need to do is I just wanted him to watch me take his son. That's.
Oh, ooh, yeah. I hadn't
that's
thought
how vengeful she was.
Ooh,
she was like, I just wanted him to watch me take his son from him.
Yeah. And of course
instead.
We see Jack and he's all Borgified. He's got all that, the black suit on and his eyes are black and he's muttering to himself because he's giving commands as the focal.
He doesn't even see him there. He doesn't even see his father there at all.
He's like the focal point of the collective now.
Right.
So what he's Vox. He's the voice of the collective. So and then we get a I'm gonna tie these two things together, even though they're sequentially they're different scenes. But the Queen makes a comment about a new generation of Borg, with the assimilation, and the propagation of the species, so to speak, throughout the galaxy. And I thought, considering what happens in the end, obviously, it also turns out to be the last generation as well. So I thought that works. With the title and everything. I just that was a nice bit of writing.
Your phones, always on your phones all the time. Like, you're mine now. You're my slaves. Yeah, it all worked.
Captain Seven has to make a rah-rah speech to the crew.
Right.
The guy who was the cook? And
he was the cook.
who has to be the pilot of the starship now.
I guess we missed a scene or whatever where she goes, whoever's still alive and in the group, she asks what they did. Like, what skills do you have? And he must have told her, I took training. I didn't finish it, but I took it.
Yeah.
That's why they knew to go to their whatever station already without her telling them to do it.
But I was
like,
I don't know. I've had a few flying lessons.
Right.
And I'm going to pilot a starship, let alone.
Well, no, he didn't finish the last test. He didn't take the test. The last test.
Sure, but he still wasn't being trained to fly a starship.
Eric, space is big, man. What else is he going to hit? It's like driving a boat. Like, really? Do you
on the
need
ocean?
that many lessons to drive a boat?
But still, the fact that they're going to be in a firefight soon, it's just like, oh, come on. They're stretching it just a little bit.
Listen, you're fighting 5 million ships. Just shoot them. Just fly around.
You shoot anywhere and you're going to hit it. Yeah.
There's no way we're not going to get hit by fire, so it doesn't matter. I'm just going to give you a speech to make you feel better, but really, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anybody could have flew that thing as long as you knew to press the buttons, because there's no way we're coming out of this. Like, there's just no way.
Well, but she's trying to motivate them by doing, what we're fighting for is down there on Earth, right? Your family's there, even though, there are probably other species that that their families aren't actually there, but whatever.
But they didn't have time for a scene where he goes, my parents aren't there.
Yeah. Anyway,
we all don't live on Earth. It's funny though, because there was like 2 scenes where they're like, if Earth falls, the galaxy falls, and I'm like, that's pretty self-centered in terms of the universe. Like, there's other planets. I could see other alien races going, we're still over here. Like, why is it all about you guys?
Yeah, you've got the Klingons, you've got whatever.
You got Ryans, you got the what do you call it? Vulcan is still there, right?
Yeah.
I get so confused with the Kelvin verse sometimes. But the Vulcans are still there. You have there's a bunch of races still there. There's even races we don't I don't have that text brain that I remember everything, every race, but there are thousands of alien races out there, like planets that are established. It's not just Earth.
Well, I guess, maybe the plan was after the Queen takes over
Well, they
Earth.
spread out. Yeah.
Yeah. So then she sends the fleet out, and then they start transporting everybody to assimilate them, and then that's it's an easy takeover, essentially.
I would assume, but I mean, they seem to want to destroy anyway because it's like they were making targets. And they got to be more young people on Earth. I mean, it can't all be Florida, right? Right? It's got to be some young people down there.
Mm-hmm.
But they seem to be like, well, we don't need everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. All right. So we get some cute moments with our Enterprise D crew.
Yes.
They decide to start attacking the Borg cube to buy some time, or they're trying to find. Well, Riker
Well, trying to find the transmitter, right?
Yeah. Riker and Worf have to go find the transmitter, but at some point,
while they deter them, they deter the Borg from paying attention to them too much.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, so we find out that Beverly is a badass weapons op.
Well, I mean, did nobody watch the first 3 episodes? Did they make a point of saying that she kept running from place to place?
But I think
she had to get the shootouts.
Yeah, but I think the point is the people there with her at the moment had no idea about that.
Nobody checks on each other around here. You just look it up online. You got the internets. Like, come on.
I just thought it was really cute. She
it was.
Unleashes that blast handily, and then everyone, Troy, Data, and Geordi all turn around and look at her, and she's like, "What's happened in 20 years?"
Right.
We get this. So yeah, Worf and Riker have found the source of it, but then some still active Borg drones come after them. And this is where I was like, because we see over the course of a few scenes there, we see Worf get shot at least twice.
Oh yeah,
by the Borg.
But he just gets ridden with phaser shots, left and right, and he's still standing.
He's still standing, but okay. But he is wounded, and he basically tells Riker to take the sword. Riker, and this was great. The sword is so heavy that Riker basically it drops to the floor. And I swear to God, Darrell, that I heard Riker say shit during that scene.
I swear. I think I heard him say it too. I think he did say shit.
I think they did that time. But
I like how he went to grab it. Like, I've been wanting to get my hand on that sword. But I've seen it. And I'm gonna do some ninja stuff because I know how to fight with weapons, Klingon weapons. I've done it before. I know how to do this. And so he's like getting ready to do all that. And then he's like, the thing is like 200 pounds. What are you doing?
and then it gets worse because Worf is like the hilt, and Riker pulls out a phaser, and he's looking at Worf like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah. You could have been shooting all this time. You sitting there running around with your little sword.
And then Worf says, what? Swords are fun.
Yeah. Swords. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Even though we also we get a cut. There is a cut scene that kind of probably explains why he doesn't use phasers as much as his sword. But
is that the thing that you sent me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I just give me if in the future, if we are fortunate enough to get more of this next gen cast together, give me more Riker and Worf like this.
Yeah, I'm in.
I would be happy to watch.
I doubt
episodes of these guys.
Patrick Stewart would want to do a ton of, I think this is it for him doing like a bunch of stuff where he's the lead. He would probably do like 10, 15 minute scene, an episode or something, for one episode or whatever to get them started. I think the rest of them would still want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Please, Great Bird, allow us this.
Yeah, I'm in. Like, just listen, call it. Give me Star Trek Legacy could be so much. It could just be you're just going from jumbling up characters from actors who are still alive who want to play in the Star Trek universe again, and they don't have to do long seasons. They could just be 2-3 episode stories.
Yeah.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Oh my God, yes. There was a scene on the bridge of the D where so they know where the transmitter is. It's at the heart of the Borg cube.
Right.
And I think it's Geordi who first says it would be nearly impossible to fly the ship in there and take care of it.
It felt like old school TV, right?
Yeah.
It's impossible. There's no one that can make that shot. That's 100,000 to 1 shot.
Exactly.
No one could make it, like that kind of thing.
And
there's no way. I repeat, there's no way that you could ever, anyone who is alive right now could ever do this. And then the person goes, I can do it.
I could do this. Yeah. Data. Yeah. Data is very assertive. It's like, I can do it. And he almost gets frustrated with them because he's like, in my gut, I know I can. In my gut, I know I can do it. Trust me. But it was a nice little. I guess it was a nice little scene, but it's just like, he's going to do it.
Of course.
There's no stakes here. So I was like, why even do this scene this way? Just have
because they wanted to give him. I'm sure because they wanted to give him that moment.
Yeah, to give.
That's what it was.
Some more lines.
That's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
But it was
this moment.
But that moment was capped by as he starts to fly the ship into the Borg cube. Troy's like, why do I feel I forget? Why do I feel joy or happiness or something? Yeah.
Well, first he says, "All right, this is all or nothing," and she's like, "Nothing? What do you mean by nothing?" She's such a backseat driver in this entire episode, which is hilarious. It's just like, what? It's like she has something to say to everything the driver.
Well, doing. It kind of reminded me of her in the old show where she's basically just sitting there, not really contributing to anything, but she has some lines. So
I know, but I would love. I think I would have loved a backseat driver, Deanna, in the original show, where she's just saying stuff throughout, instead of like her being so controlled and not really, saying much until I sense things, and then she doesn't say anything else for a while or whatever. Like I would have loved if she was like, saying stuff back and forth, like. That's a big ship. Like, why are we getting so close? Like, why are you driving so fast? Like, what are you doing? I think I would have kind of liked that.
Yeah. We get another scene between Picard and Jack. This is the crucial bit of their part of the story, right? Picard makes the decision to jack himself into the collective.
I was waiting because that's all I saw it. Yeah, I was waiting for this. I'm like, just plug your brain. Just plug your brain into the thing. We have to get a telepathic conversation between you two.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way.
Yeah. And Picard does this whole thing. It's like, I was like you, son, basically, right? I joined Starfleet because I wanted to find a family, but I still kept them at arm's length, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But this is, I admit, even though I was like, oh, this, I've seen this so many times in other media, right? Other shows, other movies, right?
Sure.
But I was still, every time there's a father-son thing, it just really gets me. And he tells Jack, "You are the part of me I never knew was missing." It's like, oh my God. I loved it. All this father-son stuff.
That's why they do it.
Yeah. It was, I have a question for you about just a comparison here in just a second. Speaking of this, so Picard, saying that he'll stay with Jack until the end, and then he hugs him. And that's ultimately what breaks Jack out of the spell, so to speak, of the Borg Queen, which, again, it's like, oh, whatever. But but still, like a father's love of that connection, that's really the connection Jack has been looking for, right? So, and it wasn't overstated. I really like that. And it was just very emotional. But my question for you, Darrell, who did the hug better? Kirk with David or Picard with Jack?
Ooh. I think I don't know. I think I kind of like Kirk's
What?
and David's. Yeah, I think I do. You know what it is? Because it was such an emotional thing of he knew David existed and the mother told him to stay away.
Mm,
It's a lot different than
that's true.
Picard never knew that he existed. Like she never told him. Like he knew about David and she never wanted him around. And then shit talked him his entire existence. And then wants to be like, don't be mad at your father. It's like, what? Yeah. Carol, come on. You've been very unfair.
I don't know.
What's going on here?
I always thought that hug was really awkward in Star Trek 2.
Well, that's what goes into it of being awkward because he never hugged. He probably never got a chance to hug his son.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it was awkward. Like I think that went into the scene. Like it was awkward. It was.
Well, I guess
it was an older man trying to connect with.
Well, but this. I mean, it's the same situation in that regard. I don't know. I guess I felt like there was a lot more emotion from Picard to Jack as I saw in Kirk to David.
I mean, they both were emotional, but I don't know. Maybe it was a Kirk thing, and it was in the cinematic thing, and maybe sitting in that movie theater, it just was a little bit more. The angst was just a little bit more cranked up.
Yeah,
to me,
that's true. Yeah,
than this. I mean, but both. I mean, both were. Maybe because I knew the scene. I mean, maybe because I just knew the scene was coming.
Oh yeah. That's
like
true.
You just waited. Mm-hmm. Like once he started unplugging, and I'm like, that's not going to work. It never works. You can't unplug from the Borg like that. You have to choose it. And then I'm like, just plug your brain in so that you can show your son that you love him, and then you can bring him out of it. But you have to do it that way. And I knew you knew going in. We have watched enough Borg episodes to know. And just TV in general, we watched enough that you knew that this would have to be this way. The only way this could have happened.
Yeah. All right. So at this point, everybody knows that. Well, Geordi actually sees it, and Data confirms it that if they destroy the transceiver in the middle of the Borg ship, it's going to cause this catastrophic explosion and destroy the Borg cube.
Right.
They only have like a minute,
of course,
for the people on the Borg cube to get out. So how are they going to do this? And so there's this, Riker hears everything that they're saying, and he's like, I gotta stay and help Picard. I gotta go find Picard and help him. You guys destroy it. And he says to Troy over the comms, I'll see you soon. And just when he says he's staying and all Troy does is just closes her eyes in her reaction to that, that resignation, that recognition of this is what Riker is, this is what my husband's going to do. That was, again, just another lovely bit between those two characters, even though they're not in the same room together. I just love that. That was so great.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, she knew he was willing to die.
Yeah.
On that ship, even though he could get away and leave. And she could have yelled at him, like, how dare you leave us? You have a child that's still alive.
You still have a daughter to be a father to.
Me and your child. And she could have, but she, in that moment, in those last moments where she thought could have probably been their last moments, she didn't want to do that. Like, I mean, it also goes into their conversation they had earlier about how they, how she manipulated him with her abilities. And she's like, I could give him the whole speech thing and make him feel like crap and then come back, but I'm not gonna. He has to choose to do this.
Well, and I think also, just the whole importance of this thing with Picard and his son.
Right.
That just, given that they also have kids and, one has died. I know that's a really interesting thing to think about, because they've had to deal with the tragedy of losing a child and what that's done to their family. And they still have, as we said, he still has a daughter that he has to be a father to, and yet he's choosing to help his lifelong is maybe too strong of a word, but his friend, his former captain, and what Picard's dealing with his, it's just all of this jumbled up family stuff is like, it's really interesting how they are choosing to do what they're doing to help each other out. So it's like, that was again, this is like, oh my God, they're going to kill Riker.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's what it looked like.
But so what, now everything just like goes into overdrive in these next few scenes, because a lot of stuff happens very quickly, and Picard is successful getting Jack out of there, out of the collective. They're together. Riker Riker makes it there just in time. Geordi and Beverly have to make the difficult decision to fire on the transceiver, which they end up doing. But that was another great little moment for Beverly, because she has to make the choice. In order to save, billions and billions of people, she's got to make the choice. And she's the one choosing to fire or actually firing. So she's the one that's going to murder her son and the father of her child, plus, Riker and Worf on there. So it's like, that was a great moment. And, I thought LeVar Burton did a great job at conveying the weight of being the one in command at that moment too, with, very little screen time to convey that, but he did a really good job. So, but like I said, they do fire on it. Everything starts exploding. They're basically the people on the Borg cube are just basically standing there waiting to be blown up.
Pretty much. They're not like nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly right. But then it's Riker who saves the day, because he says I love you, Imzadi, and that allows Troy to be able to pinpoint where they are.
Yeah.
Because at this point, the whole reason they haven't been able to do that before is because of the interference of the transceivers. It's screwing with their sensors, right?
And it again goes back to the conversation. He pulled away from her when their kid died, when their son died, and he's actually going. He's going to her, right? Yeah. Like if his last thoughts are going to be his last thoughts, he put them all to her, and he didn't. I don't think he realized that it would send out a mental signal that she'd be able to follow. Yep. But it's just instinctively, just going towards your wife, the woman that you love, instead of, into yourself, that saved your life. Like that's, corny but true.
Yes, I was. That's what I thought too. Is like, oh yeah, this is a little corny, but oh my God, it so works.
But true. Yeah.
And then so then she pilots the ship. So finally we get to see her. Well, she doesn't. She doesn't crash.
She puts
this
the
one.
coordinates in.
Yeah.
She puts the coordinates in.
But
she because she did it in Nemesis.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, wasn't it?
But that was to kill the person that.
Oh right. Yes.
Attacked her. Remember, she did She did the whole thing. But this time it's out of love. Before it was out of hate.
And this time is a much better result, because she doesn't crash the ship. Yes. And wasn't that a great scene of the Enterprise zooming in, and we see from Picard and Riker and Worf's perspective, they're looking up, and they see the ship kind of float by and stop. It was just that was just a wonderful.
It looked
great
like a
shot.
Smooth Cadillac Cruiser, man. It was just it was. It felt like it just looked like it moves. The way they can show starships moving now with the technology that they have now.
Oh yeah.
Compared to back then, it just made you go, wow.
See, okay, since you brought that up, like I said, I love that shot of the Enterprise zooming in, and they do transport them out right before the Borg ship explodes. But before, I didn't mention this before, but when Data is going to fly into the Borg cube,
right,
and whatnot, that seemed, I don't know, that's a massive ship, and it should not be zooming about like that. It doesn't seem right.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't, but now that they have that, again, they were like, well, now we can do stuff like this.
That's
Why
true.
not?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Because and then you think about it, he's overcompensating because he's using his positronic brain to overcome. If it was a regular person doing it, no, it shouldn't move that way.
That's true.
Because you're moving something so big.
Yeah.
But because he's using the calculations in his brain and it's so fast that he knows when they're going to turn, he puts it in for the, the dampeners.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So I think that's what he was trying to tell Geordi, that I could, I get into a rhythm, because they even made a point of shooting his hands to see how fast he was moving. Like, it was almost like he was playing a concerto. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like an orchestra, the way that his hands were moving over the controls.
Yeah.
Like, they kept the shot on it for a few seconds to show you how fast his hands were moving.
That's true. All right. So, well, okay. I'll forgive it then. But
yeah, I give it. It was more Star Warsian a little bit, but I give it to them that they, you have the ability. This is probably the last time we're going to see
that's true.
This class of starship, show it in the best light, like have it doing, cool flying.
So yeah, we see the Borg ship blow up, and everybody is on the bridge now, and everybody's good. Worf gets basically the last laugh. He goes to where Deanna was sitting next to the captain's chair, and slumps in the chair, and then just a few seconds later, he's snoring.
He's out.
Oh my God,
done.
That was probably the best Worf thing ever.
And I so felt him in that moment.
Oh my God, yes.
Him. Yeah. If I had to go through all of that all day, I would totally just pass out in my seat and fall asleep and snore. That is an old man thing. Even with redundancies. That is an old man thing to get that tired.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a great capper.
It was. It was.
Did you realize that all of this, everything we've talked about for this episode, all of this stuff, that was 42 minutes in?
I did, because I stopped it and I looked and I'm like, that is a lot. A lot of show still left.
That too, yeah. Yeah. So then we get
like, because this was the moment, like, right? This was the that part, all those scenes you just described, that was the Top Gun moment. That was what was it? The ID4 moment,
it's true,
where they slow walk back in, and then the women in their lives run slow motion to hug them, and and then they show one person that you thought was gonna die, that they went to rescue, and then that person comes out, and like they even the suit looked like, even his Borg suit looked like a flight suit.
Good point.
When he's walking in, like it all, it just had that. It was just funny because even the music and stuff, it was like, this is American movie making right here, where they have done this since the 80s, right? Like every action movie where it's like where it's flying involved, like any kind of ships are involved. This is what we get at the end of the movie. So it just made me crack up when I was looking at all that.
Yeah, that was incredible. I was like, oh my God, that so much has happened in 42 minutes. But then we still have 20 minutes to go.
We still have 20 minutes. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of time left.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do?
Exactly. And so it basically like two major scenes. So the aftermath of this Borg takeover of Starfleet is, and I'm just going to quickly go through this stuff, but Beverly, who is now Admiral Crusher in charge of Starfleet Medical.
Right.
Is purging the Borg. She's figured out a way to purge the Borg code from Starfleet personnel by.
And
Go ahead.
And figure out and find the changelings
Yes.
in Starfleet.
Yeah. So we get to see that specifically as they're beaming the Borg infected folks to erase that, and then we see a changeling who
which
tried
is
to
also
get through.
And then I thought about it. Maybe that's why the Vedic didn't want to use transporters with the Vedic either. Maybe they knew that if they kept using transporters, eventually they would find.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe the Borg told them that that they could find you if they find, because they're ahead of the game in terms of technology. But maybe they were like, "There's a way to find us, and I don't want them to find us, and that's why I don't use it."
Yeah.
I was wondering.
And then we get this scene with Seven, and like I said, Tuvok's in this episode, so we get to see Tuvok again. We find out they
real Tuvok.
The real Tuvok. We get we are told that not everybody that was replaced was killed, and that includes Tuvok.
Yeah,
so
we won't tell you who exactly because we might need to do another show or something, and maybe we want to do callbacks, and we don't know who. We haven't decided who's going to live and who's not.
Yep.
So this is why.
Yeah. So Tuvok in his typical Vulcan style is kind of he's describing the offenses that Seven has committed.
Even when he's going to give you good news, he always
right?
He always makes it sound like it's going to be the worst news.
He's got to go through. He's kind of like my wife. My wife has to tell the story from the very beginning all the way through, even though I already know the part that she's going to tell me. Right. So he's got to go through.
I just want to get to just tell me the last part. Just tell me the last part. That's all I want. That's all I want. And you have to sit through the whole thing.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So
I went through that yesterday. Just let me tell you. And I'm like, I already, in my head, I had to stop myself. But, when you get to a certain age, we know to stop.
Yeah.
But in my brain, I'm like, I already know all this. Just get to the part where we get to the end where you tell me I'm right. So I really want it, but I can't say it.
Yeah.
Hold it in.
Which Tuvok does after Seven says, I'm going to resign. He's like, no. Because
he's one of the people that suggested that she join also with Janeway.
Right.
That's why he's like, I'm going to show you why I'm right.
But
I'm going to make you think it's the worst news ever.
But more importantly, it's this is where Darrell, remember the end credit bits that we are shown throughout the season. Well, they show us the same little bits, and then every episode we get to see, oh, that's what that thing is referring to.
Right.
Well, we've been seeing this crew evaluation thing from Shaw about Seven, but we don't get to see any details.
We never get to see it.
Yeah. But now we do, because we get to see Shaw, a video of Shaw, his log about this, basically saying that she's impetuous, she doesn't like to follow orders, but she's going to be a great captain, basically, and is.
He's an old school military guy. They're old, those old school military guys are like, no, we're not going to get touchy feely. I'm not going to tell you you're great and all that stuff.
Right. Yes.
When I see you, I'm going to treat you I'm going to give you just as much of a hard time, because if you could deal with my pain in the ass self, then that means that when you get out there without me to be there with you, you can handle anybody, because I've been so hard on you.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the Tuvok way of doing it too. He's like, I'm beating you down, but I want you to be able to handle everything.
I'm forging you to be a better captain, which is what he does recommend.
Even though she wants to quit many times.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did you think that the way that Shaw was describing Seven was she's very Kirk-like?
Sure.
Yeah.
That style of captain? Sure.
Yep.
Yes.
Which will play into something here in a minute.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And, Shaw, like you said, he's going to be the old school guy, but he's kind of an old softy too.
This is why the Borg won, because they got complacent. Like we go through waves, right? Starfleet goes through waves. We get complacent. We have wars, which cause you to have to think outside the box, and then we get complacent again when we're in peace, which is the TNG side. And then, now we're getting to a point where being so complacent, this is why we open ourselves up to what happened. And now we need captains that are a little bit more, outside. They think outside the box a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is what you need. You need someone that'll skim those lines.
You need a Kirk
a little bit. Yeah, you need a Kirk. Yeah, you need a Kirk.
And even Picard was not that. So, I mean, until
Picard
this season.
Picard. I mean, as much as we say it, but yeah, Picard was to follow the rules and the lines.
You know
he
what?
Stayed in the lines for the most part.
And now that I think about it, he was even doing that at the beginning of the season. It was Riker who was like, we could bend the rules a little bit here. We could try a little subterfuge. So,
which is how they wrote it. And then eventually they were like, we can't have the captain being all, ruled, following all the rules, because everybody loves captains when they break the rules. Like that's the point. Like that's yeah. So when he has to break, that's why they did that whole insurrection movie, and it's just that the stakes were so low. That was the problem with that movie. But they were trying to show that Picard has learned that you have to break. Like it was a big deal for Picard to break the rules. But it was just that the stakes were just like, it just felt like it was just a one episode kind of thing, and it didn't mean anything, and it should have meant more because it was a movie. So that's the thing. So yeah, I can.
We get a one. We haven't talked about Rafi hardly at all, if at all, this episode. But we get a great scene with her and Worf. Rafi is about to. Eventually she's going to be reconciling with her family because her son has contacted her because somebody has leaked her involvement in all of this and her commendations and what she, basically what she's been doing for the good of, the Federation. And that's causing some great things to happen with her family. And, I've talked a bit this episode about the whole Riker Worf thing, but this was a nice way to end, because there's been no scenes between Worf and Rafi really these last two episodes, really. And we get a wonderful little bit between them, and it's very, very highly intimated that Worf is the one who leaked this stuff. By himself, he basically admits it, but he learned
something.
Yeah.
I loved solemn warrior stuff. It doesn't exactly make for a good retirement.
And then finally, we get a little scene with Data, with Troy, with some counseling sessions. He's struggling being human.
Oh man, he's a basket case.
Oh my God. Well. We see Troy looking at vacation spots instead of listening to her client. Yeah. And as Data leaves, eventually, Riker is there, and when Data's, I guess, out of earshot, he looks at Troy and says, "He's still batshit."
Yeah.
Another shit.
Yeah, he does. He loves using shit.
Oh my God.
Loves using that curse.
So that's 3 times.
He's a mess.
I guess 4 or 5 times we've said the word, Darrell. I might have to put the explicit tag on this now.
That's right. We've been pouty pops.
So yeah, Riker and Troy are trying to plan a long-deserved vacation. So
listen, they have not been together a long time. They're trying to get some Mazzotti time. Yeah, and that's what's going down. It's a Mazzotti time. That's what they're thinking about, and that's what they want.
But then so that's the first part of the ending. The second part of the ending is we get an explicit 1 year later on the screen. Mm-hmm. The Enterprise D is now at the space, the ship museum, and the crew are there to basically say goodbye to it. Or maybe I got my notes mixed up. Maybe that happened before the 1 year later. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But Picard says if ever there was better evidence that the past mattered. And I thought,
Yeah.
is that another jab to the current slate of Star Trek? The current regime that's charting the course for Star Trek?
I don't know. I just thought it was a shot at the people that did the first 2 seasons. That's what
Okay,
I
well,
thought
there's that.
They don't
too,
even remember. There was a sense that they didn't even whoever was responsible for it didn't even, remember these things from the show.
Yeah,
that people remember like us do.
But like I said, 1 year later, and we find Jack is now an ensign in Starfleet.
Yes, he is.
And Beverly and Picard.
Nepo baby.
Yeah, you even he explicitly talks about that too.
Yeah, he does.
But we get another great little moment between Picard and Jack because, Picard's like, I'm so proud of you, son. So that was just the heart. It tugs at the heart. But we find out, as a surprise to Picard, Beverly is part of the subterfuge because Picard somehow being now an active admiral in Starfleet.
Yes.
Again, is somehow doesn't know that his own son has been assigned to the Titan. Oh, wait, no, it's not the Titan. It's the Enterprise G, NCC 1701-G. So, which we find that Seven is the captain of.
Yes.
With First Officer Rafi Musiker. So
yes,
that's so. What did you think of that? That reveal these two taking on the new flagship, I presume, of the Federation.
You saw it coming.
Sure.
When they had that picture. Remember that we didn't mention this, but there was a scene that when they got back to the bridge after rescuing Picard and Riker and Worf and their son. There's a scene where you see on the view screen, you see Seven, Raffi, and Geordi's two daughters.
Oh, that's true.
As if they're going to be, because I have a feeling if they were to do the show, Geordi's daughter will be the new engineer for the show, would be the engineer for the ship.
Mm.
Or be on it as an engineer, maybe not the lead engineer because she's young, but she'd be she'd be a Nepo baby too. She'd be the engineer. You have the pilot, Geordi's daughter's the pilot. It had a sense of this was trying to be a backdoor pilot really quick. To do this. This is what it would look like.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be the obvious thing that they could do this.
Yeah. But they made a point of showing that on the screen and leaving it there for a minute. Yeah. And then it pans to the old crew. Like this is the old, and now this is the next generation.
Yep.
Remember they had a point of doing that.
That's true.
And I was like, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is coming. This is where we're going. After she got the captain thing, I was like, okay, this is what you're doing. I get where you're pointing to. I get the message.
Yeah. Loud and clear. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's there.
And even Metalis. So we were going to talk. I was going to talk to you about this legacy thing, but anyway. But I'll just jump to this, and we'll go back to some of the final scenes on William Shatner's birthday, March 22nd of this year. Because I was curious, where did this thing called Star Trek Legacy come from? Where because everybody was talking about Star Trek Legacy, and I was curious. Well, how did we get that name first of all? So, and I found it was Terry Matalas on Twitter, where he sent out this message for Star Trek Legacy. It says, in case you're wondering, hashtag Star Trek Legacy is what I'd call a spin-off show from Picard. A 25th century show that explores the last generation and the next. And then now that whole thing, there's tons of articles being written about Star Trek Legacy. When's Star Trek Legacy coming? What is Star Trek Legacy? So,
yeah. calm down. You have to talk to the suits about that.
Yeah, right.
Nobody
So
doesn't have control over that part.
But before we get to Star Trek Legacy, we have Jack coming onto the bridge of the Enterprise G, giving orders, which are then quickly belayed by First Officer Rafi. And he asks Captain Seven where he should be. Should he be a pilot at the ship? Should he be on a science station, even though that's not really his thing? There's something else I forget now. And she's like, you sit here next to me as special counselor to the captain.
Yeah, you're basically Deanna Troy.
Yeah.
you're just consultant, homie. You're instant consultant because you've been so many places. That's basically what you are.
And as we've talked about over the course of this season, he's kind of a dabbler. But he has initiated a lot of the things that allowed the plot to move forward. Like, hey, let's go grab the cloaking device and use that. There were some other things too that I'm forgetting at the moment, but where I was like noticing, oh yeah, Jack has, he has some knowledge and he has the initiative and basically the chutzpah to just, let's do this. Let's, very, very Kirk-like. Well, we're just going to go do this thing, even though
he's Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Pun intended, right?
Yep.
Like
yep.
He's learned all the he knows all the different sciences, right? And which is Kirk. That was pretty much what we got reinforced in Strange New Worlds with Kirk.
Oh yeah,
that he's a jack of all trades as well. Like he learned a little bit of each station, so he kind of knows what they do, and he can put the pieces together. I think we get a sense of that.
Yep. Okay. And then, so the Enterprise G is going to be going on a shakedown cruise because they've rebuilt it from the Borg attack and whatnot. So Rafi's like, okay, what's your first command? Is it going to be engage or make it so or whatever? And that's the whole thing. And then we see Seven contemplating it, about to say it, and then it shifts to the Enterprise warping away. So my question for you, Darrell, what do you think Seven said? What is her let's get moving moment?
I don't know. Like I tried to think about it, but then I was like, and I'm glad they didn't do it. I'm glad they didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm glad. I don't know. Let us have the show. And then do it. Show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's when it's more special. Like
I thought that was a good choice too.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice to do because you want to think it out and that's what you do. I don't know, man, with Seven, because it would be because she's come from learning from two different styles of captaining, right? Yeah. Janeway and Chakotay, which she should have never been paired with to date. That was ridiculous. But anyway. Besides the point. But there's the Maquis style of doing stuff, and then there's the captain, the Federation, Starfleet captain side of doing stuff, and she learned from both. And that's, I don't know, man. I don't know what would be a fitting.
Well, let me ask you this: what would your command be?
Oh, wow. I don't even, I would say, you know what? I would say make it happen. That would be that would be my thing. I would say that. On Star Trek Day, I posted a bunch of pictures that I took when I was on the Star Trek tour in Ticonderoga. Yeah.
And my father actually commented asking me a question, but the question of, well, what would you say? And I've always liked the and it's similar to what Pike says, but I've always like hit it, like that's my engage.
Well, Pike sounds like when he says it like a sexual like romance novel or something. Like when he says hit it, because you could hear Barry White when he says hit it.
I thought, doesn't he say punch it? Or am I thinking of the Kelvin Pike?
I think you're thinking of the Kelvin Pike.
Okay.
Didn't he say hit it? I thought he said hit it.
I don't know now.
I think he
Well,
does say something like "hit it" or whatever. But Pike is like so smooth about it, where it's just like
yeah,
he
that's true.
is like
Yeah, yeah,
he's just so like he's so calm and laid back,
that's
and
true.
just
Yeah.
you could just hear the R&B just playing in the background, I cook, I'm a chef, I do all this stuff, and it's like when he sits there, it's like it's all everybody feels calm, everybody feels okay, no one's nervous. That's kind of how he does it. Like Seven is so like Seven is forceful, brave, like she jumps in the fire when she does stuff. Like she has so much confidence. So whatever she comes up with, it has to have that. It has to have that
Yep.
weight to it. Like
Yeah.
she is, like she has been through so much. She is confident in her skills. Like she never, like Seven doesn't question herself. Like that was like half the season when she joined Voyager, where Janeway would have to be like, slow your roll, okay? You're doing a little too much. Like that's why her and B'Elanna used to always go at it.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
B'Elanna wanted to punch her in the face all the time because she was always like trying to do her job because she just doesn't question it. She jumps right in. Like that's kind of how she does it. That's Seven. Whatever you can come up with, whatever phrase you can come up with, and it has to be something like that where she is ready to jump in to the fray. Like, let's do it. Let's like that's Seven.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to that possibility sometime in the future.
I would love it. I mean, who knows? But I would love it. I would love to see something like that happen. But it's just such a, TV is such a streaming. I'm saying it's so tenuous right now with what's still going to be here and not by the time everything comes back and everything's signed, and hopefully the writers and the actors get what they deserve and stuff. But who knows what that's gonna be like. But I would think you would want to continue, because I think this did pretty well for them in terms of streaming and stuff.
Well, it reminds me a lot of what happened in Discovery with Pike coming on, and the reaction as I did, the reaction to Pike, and then a year later they announce Strange New Worlds. It's like, well, yeah, that makes total sense that they're going to do this. So this has a similar vibe to me.
It does.
So it seems like a no-brainer that they do it, but then we already talked about they've already announced that other show, the Academy show. So that's going to be where they're going to put their money. So who knows?
Well, they did take away the Section 31 show. Like that's not going to be a show anymore. So there's that. Like that is a possibility.
That's true. Yeah.
It's a closer possibility that we could get this show, because they're not going to have that. If Section 31 was still happening, then I would be like, oof, that's hard, because they're only going to do with so many because of the budget. They're going to shrink it, and they're not going to want to do it. But if they're not even going to do the Section 31 as a series, then maybe, we could get that Star Trek Legacy. I mean, you have these actors and stuff like still alive who would do it. I mean, come on. Like, there's like a ton of actors, Star Trek actors who are doing their own podcast about their shows now. Right? And so it's like, you don't think they would come back to like do like, you don't think you could get them to come back again and play in this, in this toy chest for a little bit. Like they don't have to do the long half a year to a year of shooting like they used to have to do. It's not like that anymore. So they could come in and, and do 10 episodes, maybe, if that, depending on who comes in or whatever. If it's a legacy show where you you have them as the spine of it, where they're flying around doing stuff, but then they have to get in like you have Mulgrew still doing her thing, man. She's still great. Like you can't.
Well, so it's funny you mentioning the other actors and what they're I have a little bit of trivia relating to that. So
okay.
Sort of, but before we continue to talk about a show that hasn't been announced, we gotta finish this one,
right?
Because there is basically one final scene with the crew, and then we have a mid-credit scene, but. So that the old crew is back at 10 forward. There's even a reference to Guinan, even though we don't get to see her. Picard does his quoting thing. I assume that's from Shakespeare. I meant to look that up, but I did not. But then after that, he pulls out a deck of cards, and we get this wonderful all good things ending recreation now, 35 years later, with them playing poker, and having what looks like a great time. Metalis said in that interview, The Ready Room, that's the name of that show that Wheaton hosts.
Oh, yes.
That he filmed for 45 minutes of them playing around the card table, and
I remember hearing that.
Yeah. So they did the lines that they were supposed to do, but then they were just
they did their thing.
They were just riffing and doing. I think there's even there's the Worf goes, I'm folding all right, or something like that, which seems a little out of character, but that seems to me to be a little ad lib scene. Yeah.
Yeah, that was him.
So that was great. So that's how the show ends, with the rousing music and the camera pulling away from the top, and we see our beloved
Man, I
crew.
could do Star Trek poker and I'd be fine. Like you could give me Star Trek poker where they're just like every week they come there and they just play.
Yeah.
And they have to be, and they're in character or not. I don't even care anymore.
Nope.
Like it could just be them.
Yep. I would love it just them.
I would watch Star Trek poker where you can get every actor that's been in Star Trek, if they want to come in and do a round of poker for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I would watch it. I would watch that shit. I'd watch an hour. What am I lying to myself? I would watch an hour. I watch worse. I would watch an hour.
It's funny though. Like I said, during that interview with Metalis, they also showed the end scene in All Good Things. And I noticed that between that ending and this ending, Patrick Stewart hasn't learned to be a better card dealer in 35 years.
No. He don't it's play.
Horrible.
Yeah, Picard don't play.
No.
He don't play.
No.
That's not his thing. I've never learned either. I'm with him. I never learned how to do cards either. I'm terrible at it. I'm so bad.
All right. And so that's the end of our crew. But not all is over with, because like I said, mid-credit scene, Jack is in his quarters, and I will say this, did you notice he put a little model of the Enterprise D on his, I don't know, bedside or whatever?
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
But then there's a voice, and Jack turns around and it's Q.
Yeah, he's just never going to go away.
Yeah. Q is there to, well, first of all, Jack is like, aren't you dead?
Yeah.
Which, I appreciate this, because, Q's response to that is basically, I would think that you would learn to not think so linearly. How, Darrell, what am I trying to say? Linearly. That's not the right word.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Linearly.
Anyway, so
I don't know.
So this is Q before he died, and given what Q is,
right?
That makes sense. But
do you need it?
That was going to be my question. But first, let me say, so he's telling Jack that even though Picard's trial for humanity has ended, his has just begun.
Right.
So, yeah. Did we need this? Why do we need this?
because the nostalgia train was heavy, and he probably was still there from season 2, and they were like, "Why not?" I bet you that's what happened.
Well,
it was like, "Why not?
So
Just do it."
So the genesis of this was Metalis going at the end of season 2, going to John Delancey and saying, "Hey, I got this idea," and so they filmed it right at the end of season 2 before they got into season 3, as I understand it. And I love John Delancey. I will, give me Star Trek Q. I will watch the crap out of Q or Delancey.
I like Delancey. Q. I really never been a fan of those omnipotent.
Sure, but Delancey's he's such a delight. So
he is. No, he is. He totally is.
So I appreciate it for that, but at the same time, it's like just like coming into these last 2 episodes. Oh, the Borg. It's the Borg. Oh, great. Oh, it's Q. Oh, great. But maybe because Star Trek: The Next Generation started with Q, it has to end with Q. Maybe that's what he was thinking.
I guess. I don't think this means anything. I really don't. I think that this was just
a bit of a teaser.
They
a
were
bit of
there.
fun.
Yeah. I think it was there. We had the actor still here, and he would love to do it, and we could just do a little bit of a baton handoff to the son, right?
Yeah. Apparently, this scene was filmed in just 20 minutes.
I'm surprised it took that long because it really wasn't much to it.
No, but it's just like they had to the production time was so tight that they didn't have much time to do anything really. Like I said, the Enterprise D bridge scenes, was over 2 days. So anyway. So there you go. That's what happened in the last episode. So some of the trivia for this one, and then I have some more questions for you, Darrell. With this episode 10 of Star Trek Picard Season 3, Riker and Troy have appeared in 3 series finales. Obviously being
that's true.
All Good Things for Next Gen. These are the voyages from Enterprise, and now this one. Worf has appeared in different sets of 3. This, All Good Things, and What You Leave Behind as well.
Right.
For DS9.
Right.
Let's see here. With the appearance of the restored Enterprise D, Enterprise F, and the new Enterprise G, and the Enterprise A, and this says the other Enterprise, but that doesn't make sense. This episode boasts the greatest number of Starfleet ships named Enterprise, with distinct whole numbers appearing in the same episode. So it's a lot of Enterprises going on.
Yeah, quite a bit.
I mentioned before some stuff relating to these other characters. So Metalis has also revealed in some other interviews that the initial draft for the finale included several additional character appearances, including a scene between Data and Soji, which kind of would have been nice to tie all of Picard together.
Or at least explain what the hell happened to that character, because I don't understand season 2 Soji at all.
Yeah. The reveal that, and you would love this, that Ro Laren had survived her shuttle's explosion.
Oh, don't play with my emotion.
And found alive alongside Tuvok.
No.
Right? That would have been.
Yes, give me that. They could still do that.
That's true. They could.
There's no reason why they can't.
Seven's promotion to captain would have featured Admiral Janeway and Captain Harry Kim.
I'm saying, man, they're right there.
Right. And also I've read or heard that he had plans for other DS9 characters to make appearances throughout the series, but that did not work out.
Let's get it popping.
As he said, all these appearances had to be cut due to budget limitations.
I'm sure. I'm sure they did.
Yeah, they couldn't throw everything in. So
right. That's why you do the legacy show, and you can have people come in and out. That's what you do, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's what I have for for this last episode, I was curious, what, from your perspective, now having watched it, at least you've watched the whole season at least twice, right? The first time and at least once for talking about it here, maybe more. I don't know. What are your basic thoughts for Star Trek Picard season 3 as a whole? What delighted you and what was not to your liking that we haven't maybe talked about? Just as an overall.
I mean, there's so much that I totally loved. I mean, having the old crew come back together again, having the stakes of them having to save the kid, literally having to save the galaxy again. I mean, that was great. I love the ships. I love how they did I love what they did with the CGI. I loved how they set stuff up, like, for future stuff if they agreed to it. We could have so much more because of how it was set up. Star Trek is such a big universe. It's like, and I love how they showed how big the universe is. I love the acting. I love the chemistry between those characters because they have it. Like they've worked together for so long. Like they get in that room and together, and you can tell that they just fit. Like everybody just connects back into their little molds that they have from even after all these years. So it's like that was just great. Stuff not that I didn't like so much. Part of it is not having as many characters that I would have liked to have had in it because I'm greedy.
Yeah,
I would have loved to have had the other. I would have loved to see Janeway. I would have loved to see B'Elanna and Tom, and like more Tuvok. I would love to have seen Nina Visitor, because she's one of my favorites. Having Kira be in it would have been incredible. I'd have lost my mind. Having her and Ensign Ro, because remember, Ro was supposed to be the character in Deep Space Nine and not Kira,
right? And
she didn't want to do it, and so that's why they created Kira's character. I would have loved an adventure. You give me that. You give me a Kira and Ro adventure where they have to solve some stuff, just to help, stop something from happening that's not supposed to happen or whatever, something bad for the Bajorans or whatever, and they had to work and Starfleet. They had to work together to do it. Man, I would lose my effing mind.
Yeah,
and then you drop Worf in the middle of that. I would pass. I'd probably pass out. If they announced it, I'd probably pass out first.
Well, I agree with you on a lot of, basically everything of that. But, at the risk of repeating myself, since you just mentioned Worf, the things I've loved about this season is Riker primarily.
Yeah.
I still say he's the MVP of this series. Worf, like I've said ad nauseum, I never really cared for him all that much before this season. He's like, yeah, Worf's okay. He's fine. He's fine as a character. He's got some great moments, but I loved everything that he did in this season. So he's been great. 7 has been a revelation to me.
I love 7
throughout all of the seasons of Picard.
Yeah.
She has been the standout character, one of the standout characters of the series. Sure. I would even say I enjoy her character, her performances, what that character's going through more than anything that Picard is going through. Anyway, obviously we have this incredible love for Captain Shaw. So that's my man. Shaw,
my birthday came. That's
Shaw has been, yes. Oh my God, that's right. I'm so jealous. Still,
my dude. That's my dude.
I would give me a Captain Shaw show set before all this stuff. yeah, that Todd Stashwick is so
Give me Captain Shaw.
great.
He faked his death because he didn't
Yeah,
want to
right.
work Starfleet anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still out there and he's alive. He's doing his thing.
Oh, speaking of that, in that last Ready Room episode, Wheaton and when they were talking about the scene with Q and Jack, Wheaton says of Delancey that he Stashwicks the scene, which Metalis thought that was the greatest description of what John Delancey could do. So I thought,
sure,
I thought that was great. So yeah, I really liked Vadic as the heavy, the bad guy.
You know what? I forgot to mention her. As villains go, I miss her because she was so
she was so
evil.
Much better than the Borg Queen.
Well, sure,
coming in at the end.
So much. Yeah, there was so much more you could have done if they had. Again, it's a whole thing of if you had more money and more episodes.
Yeah, that's true.
More Vedic being evil, I would have been there for it.
Yeah,
like more because she's such a different villain than you usually get. And for her to be like she is smoking that cigarette on the bridge, just talking smack. You know, like a little bit of crazy. You never know what she's going to do. Oh my gosh, I would love to see more of the Vedic out here doing crazy stuff.
So a couple characters that we did not see enough of, or more of, or at all, and this is my cons column. No Wesley. I was really hoping that we would get another cameo.
Always a disappointment that I don't know why they just don't explain his story better. I don't know why I don't clean that up.
I would have preferred so much more that he made a cameo in this season as opposed to the end of season 2.
Instead of that thing that makes no sense to me in last season. I don't know why they did that the way they did it. It makes no sense. Yeah. I'm sorry. It really doesn't. This has been what they did. Yeah.
And of course we haven't, I wanted to circle back to this thing that we talked about towards the beginning of our journey here. We unfortunately we predicted that Laris would not make an appearance at the end, and I'm so pissed about that.
Yeah, I knew it, and I don't even think it's because he's back with Beverly. It's just that they probably with a time thing. They just didn't have the time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think Laris is the type of person who's like, yeah, it was nice while it lasted, but yeah, we're done. I'm okay with that.
Listen, I'd feel that way if I had Laris in my life. I'd enjoy it as long as I could before I did something
where she was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah, that's true. Me too. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's you're thankful for the time that you had with the shining star, and then she's gonna have to move on and do her own thing because she's out there doing her thing, man. She's great. Again, Star Trek Legacy could have her doing stuff.
That's right.
You could do a story with her.
Oh my God, maybe she makes an appearance in the Section 31 movie. No, wait, that's a different timeline.
No, you can't. Yeah.
I'm forgetting my tracks.
See, season 2 messed you up, right?
Yeah,
season 2, because of that face, when she used the face. That makes no sense. That's why it confused you. You know what? That's the thing I didn't like either. I want this Borg nonsense to make sense. Fix that. I'm sorry. I know they want to just pretend it never happened, but you did it. You did it. We watched all those episodes, not understanding anything that was happening, and I want them to fix it.
Yeah. Well,
fix that shit.
So to kind of dovetail into what you're saying there, I came into Picard season 3 based on how I felt about season 2, which is not favorable at all, right? So it occurred to me, I came into season 3 kind of like Kirk is shown at the beginning of Star Trek 2. He's kind of cranky and disillusioned. But I left the Picard season 3 like Kirk is at the end of the movie. He's happy and hopeful. And that's how I'm kind of feeling about the 25th century Trek. So, with the possibility of legacy and who knows what else, but Picard season 3 made up for everything else the first 2 seasons of Picard, and in spades, I think. So
Yeah.
For sure. It was just a lovely viewing experience, especially coming out of season 2.
Right. Oh yeah.
So,
Oof.
Well, Darrell, is there anything else that you want to say about Star Trek Picard season 3 before we end our conversation?
I think we kind of wrung the the towel out. Like we went kind of deep into the show now. We really ran it deep. I miss it. I already miss not looking forward to something more with this show. I mean, it could still happen, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
So for now, I miss thinking that we won't get anything else with this group.
Oh, yes.
I already miss it.
Yeah.
I already miss them already. Like that's basically how I feel. I miss them. Yeah. I could sit with, watching them do stuff with those characters, as those characters. Okay, I could do another 10 episodes or whatever if they ever did it. I don't care. Give me that. I'd watch it. I'd support it.
Yeah. Well, this has been such a joy for me, Darrell, to talk Star Trek with you.
Yes, I love it.
I don't know if we talked about this at the beginning of our season 3 journey, but after I had posted my thoughts on Picard season 2, you had reached out to me and said, we need to talk. So that's how this started. And it's just been a wonderful examination with you to talk through this stuff. And, it's always fun to talk Trek with someone who loves Trek as much as you do. So,
for sure.
Thank you so much for that.
I had a ball.
And who knows, what may come in the future, what strange new worlds we'll examine down the road.
That sounds like a great thing. Somehow it just fits. It just fits to do something like that.
All right. Well, before we leave, Darrell, why don't you remind people about the Taylor Network of podcasts if they want to go listen to you talk about other things on other shows?
Yeah, you can hear me and my buddy Donnie, who's a comedian, and we discuss entertainment, TV, and movies, and in our ridiculous way that we do. But it's very fun. You can also hear your co-host as well, Peter Rios, me and Peter and Hassan, as we discuss all things DC Comics. And you can also hear me talk about Batman with Hassan and my friend Russ, because we also do that as well. And where I pass out naming so many podcasts. Retro Movie Geek, which is movies that we cover that are like 20 years or older. And so we have fun looking at classic movies and talking about these classic movies. Some of them are great, some of them not so much. Like Day of the Dolphin, look that up and you'll be like, how did you make it through that movie? I barely did. And
I remember this movie, yeah.
I regret every minute of talking about it because it was horrible. But still, we do it. We do it anyway. So you can check that out and just look me up. I'm on the, Twitter, X, Y, Z, E, B. I don't know what they call the thing anymore. It's the thing that used to be something usable, and now it's not. You can check me on that at The Voice 123, or just look me up on Facebook by my name, Darrell Taylor. I'm on Blue Sky for the most part. Anybody need a code? I have like 500,000 codes now. I can give you one on this Blue Sky thing. I don't know. So many. I'm too old for this. I know. The social media stuff.
Just give me one. I just want one.
I just want one where everything works. Can't you just do one where it all connects and you can just talk on any of those things?
Yeah.
Whatever. But you can find me on those things.
Excellent. All right. Again, thank you so much, Darrell. I really appreciate you talking Star Trek with me, and we'll have to do this again soon, and maybe some other things down the road.
Yeah,
some comic stuff would be great too.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
You betcha. If people would like to leave or send feedback, they can do so by sending email to me at longboxreview@gmail.com or leave comments at the website longboxreview.com. And with that, thank you for listening, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.